Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, American Comics. Fishing all over the world, starting as Homelander. Chapter 31. Wow wow wow. Suddenly, the sirens of police cars were heard in the distance. Obviously, the explosion just now attracted a large number of police officers, who were originally tracking the reformers. The reason why I just came here now. Don't ask why, it's because Marvel's police have always been like this, and they will never show up at the scene until the matter is completed. It seems unreasonable. But in fact, it is full of the desire of ordinary people to survive, and the police are also ordinary people. I don't want the news to come out tomorrow that the boss of the New York Times ran around naked in the middle of the night. Chu Mu looked at the police car getting closer and closer in the distance. His expression changed one after another. He had no choice but to put on the Homelander card again and rise into the sky naked. After all, he didn't want the news of streaking to spread. There is information that he is not an ordinary person, and he does not want to be known by S.H.I.E.L.D. or the like. You can actually fly. Gwen's little mouth directly turned into an, oh, shape. She felt more and more. What kind of fire dragon bit Chu Mu? Although such a creature does not exist in reality, it is definitely reasonable to have such a creature in a dream. Gwen was a little envious. Why the one that bit her was a spider? Why couldn't it be a mythical creature like a nine-headed bird? Although cobweb is fun, it's not as cool as flying in the sky. Deadman is more popular than anyone else. Gwen muttered. She also noticed the police car approaching and quickly shot a cobweb from her wrist in the night. Swinging through the dark streets. Passed by a patch of flags. After wrapping the national flag around herself, she dared to swing onto the street with streetlights and quickly approached her home. After both people left, the police vehicles arrived at the area, and before they were busy, as expected, Phil Coulson and his men also appeared at the scene. An inspection. He took over the area again. Phil Coulson led his men to seal off the scene and began to explore the cause of the accident. Human explosion. Phil Coulson sees the scouting report. He was slightly startled. Immediately, as if he remembered something, his expression changed instantly. He quickly picked up the communication device and contacted Nick Fury in the headquarters. I discovered that the experimental subjects of that organization have appeared again. Their research seems to have made new progress. This time the explosion is far greater than the previous two. Phil Coulson clearly knows something about extremists. And he has encountered similar suicide attacks more than once, but the two previous ones he encountered were far less lethal than this one. Is there any new breakthrough? This organization is quite hidden. I will send people to look for it and see if we can sneak into this organization. Nick Fury's voice sounded a little low, with full dignity. Not just because of the terrorist attacks caused by extremists. It's because they, S.H.I.E.L.D., have a certain understanding of this virus. Although people who have been injected with this virus, as long as their emotions reach the point of serious loss of control, they will commit suicide explosion due to imbalance in the body. But that definitely doesn't mean they were originally willing to blow themselves up. The scene you sent me clearly shows signs of fighting. The New York Police Department's information also contains a record of a Superman-like attack that can breathe fire. The records are very detailed. The other party slaughtered people wantonly and was immersed in such happiness. Therefore, I can reasonably suspect that this experimental subject was not originally intended to carry out suicide attacks, but just wanted to gain the fear of others in front of the public. Nick Fury's voice became more serious. Phil Coulson also noticed. His expression changed slightly. What's wrong with this? Although Phil Coulson has already guessed the answer in his mind, as a subordinate, he must still pretend to be confused when the time comes. Only in this way can you bring out your boss's extraordinary ability. So, the question is, for such an experimental subject with terrible abilities, he didn't want to commit suicide. I really want to know who triggered his self-destruction. Nick Fury's tone was full of worry. It would be fine if that organization was destroying the experimental subjects, but if there is another possibility, then the problem would be serious. What's possible? No need to ask Phil Coulson. Nick Fury said it himself. There may be more Superman types in New York, unknown to the public, with abilities powerful enough to pose a huge threat to the entire city. To be able to force such an experimental subject to self-destruct and then leave the scene intact, I can hardly imagine how powerful one must be to do this. Maybe, Another Superman. Nick. Fury's voice was full of worry. It was difficult for him to deal with just one Superman. If another Superman appeared, he would immediately want to retire. Quit. What to do? Destroy them all. It's boring. Looking on the bright side, we don't rule out the possibility that there will only be one Superman from beginning to end. Phil Coulson held up the communication terminal and expressed his opinion. At the moment, where he stayed, it was in front of the wreckage of an extremely luxurious sports car. However, facing the truth at hand, Phil Coulson quickly moved to the next severely damaged area. After Chu Mu soared into the sky. It is the special experience of flying in the clouds without wearing clothes. This act of flying freely, it was completely different from the feeling when wearing clothes. Definitely, Chu Mu didn't experience any abnormal happiness. I just simply think it feels special, although it is forced. But it has to be said. Chu Mu's current streaking flight situation. It fits the image of Homelander very well. This wave, if you don't give me a big score, it won't make sense. Chu Mu hopes that after taking off the card, he can capture more power and keep it in his body. He has already sacrificed his innocence. In addition, the previous rampage was quite good, so it is unjustifiable not to increase it by 1 or 2 times. My faith is worth it. After landing at his villa in the suburbs, Chu Mu looked at the 2-digit faith value left and sighed slightly. It is not easy to live in this dangerous world. I don't know if Tony Stark has gone to Afghanistan and the beginning of chaos is about to begin. The dangers of the Marvel world have indeed begun to slowly emerge. Heaven can teach you. Definitely not Chu Mu sensitive. But after living in this world for so many years, Chu Mu had never encountered the situation in the past 2 days, where he was both a vampire and a human being. Spider-Gwen also appeared. Before Tony Stark went to Afghanistan, there was only Spider-Man Peter Parker in the entire New York, a superhuman being frequently active, and Peter Parker only attacked ordinary people. Just common criminals. How is it like today's fire-breathing man? Extremis appeared in advance, just like Spider-Gwen, which made Chu Mu feel outrageous. This virus should have appeared after Iron Man cleaned up his own mess, defeated the descendants of the people his father kicked out, and then found a new type of reactor. Just meeting Spider-Gwen on the street. How could Chu Mu not feel uncomfortable in such a dangerous world? Not paying attention. He had no choice but to transform into an ancestor. Disaster. It's so difficult. Had a hot bath. Chu Mu put on his new clothes and stood in front of the mirror again. He tried to hold it in for a while, and the red light in his eyes became a little stronger. If people could only feel it before, that kind of feeling that seemed to be there but also seemed not to be there, then now it is obvious that there is some clear red color. After experiencing the Homelander card this time, he moved a little closer to Homelander's ability again, and the skin on his body could not even be easily opened with a knife. Have to work very hard. It's like using a dull knife to scratch cowhide. Definitely, Chu Mu's knife is undoubtedly very sharp, but this feeling is just used to describe the toughness of his skin. I guess after 4 or 5 more attempts, I can barely call myself a man of steel. Chu Mu felt a little relieved. His faith value had been consumed to only 2 digits, and he didn't feel so distressed anymore. He felt that this was considered convert the value of faith into a manifestation of one's own strength. Just waiting for the faith from the film and television company to arrive, I can regain my health a little bit. Chu Mu is very much looking forward to the arrival of the new faith. He even wanted to use up half of his faith points to go fishing. How to say? There are only 0 and countless times of fill money fishing. As long as you try a little bit of sweetness, it will be difficult to restrain the urge to fill money. Not to mention that Chu Mu also gained self-healing ability by filling money, which made him want to know whether he could still draw out high-quality items by filling money again. Ask for nothing else. He just wanted a formula for compound no. 5. It's better to go to bed early. This explosion tomorrow will probably be hot news again. Chu Mu tidied up a little and returned to the bedroom. For today's Marvel people, some Superman-like chaos can become hot news. The more time goes by, the more Superman-like chaos becomes no big deal. Whether it's alien invasion, robot rebellion, everyone who can survive in the Marvel universe is well informed and lucky. By that time, the public will probably feel numb to a crisis of this magnitude, and may even think, that's it. The mentality of, this can make the news. Chu Mu silently lamented the misfortune of Marvel, and slowly fell asleep while recalling today's experience. He rarely dreams. But, I had a colorful dream today. What color? Definitely not a Jerusalem color, just a little bit of a Jerusalem color. Young people, adolescence is bound to have its occasional tumultuous moments. Very normal. It's not just him. After returning home, why couldn't Gwen still be unable to sleep? It's not because of her injuries. She has Spider-Man ability. Although her self-healing ability is not as good as that of Chu Mu and Extremis injectors, she has definitely reached a level where she can leave no scars overnight and heal in 4 or 5 days. To the point of being completely fine. Definitely. Gwen literally stayed up all night. The main reason was that not only was Chu Mu's undressed appearance lingering in her mind, Gwen was still struggling with whether or not she should try to contact Chu Mu. Let's all form a team or something. Superboy and Supergirl. How cool. But if he has any concerns and it's inconvenient, I'll go find him, which will probably make it difficult for him. Gwen tossed and turned, unable to sleep. From the beginning, she was thinking that it would be inconvenient for Chu Mu to recognize her. Later, she was wondering whether Chu Mu recognized her as Gwen. Girls' feelings are the same for everyone everywhere. Can only say, if only the girl knew. Chu Mu's inner plan is to pretend that she doesn't recognize Spider-Man the next time she sees it and start exclaiming, "Wow, it's Spider-Man, it's the female Spider-Man." Under such a scene, I don't know what kind of wonderful expression the girl will have. How to put it, in Chu Mu's opinion, it is very reasonable for him to pretend not to recognize Gwen. After all, although Gwen's clothes were in tatters tonight and most of her mask was torn, after all, Gwen's face was still mostly covered with cloth. As everyone knows, in the Marvel Universe, just cover your face. That must mean that she can't recognize her mother when she comes. She doesn't have the ability. As a little classmate, isn't it unreasonable that she can't recognize her? SHIELD is busy. Chu Mu is having a sweet dream. Gwen is thinking about spring. Everyone has something to do. At the same time, in a city far outside the Great Free State, secret inhuman research is also being conducted underground in what appears to be an ordinary pharmaceutical production factory. At this place, there is no scruple about using living people for experiments. The experimental subjects here are almost all living people. The disappearance of homeless people and the like will not cause much reaction. No one will even ask. Ethics and morality are completely absent in this laboratory. Each experimental room holds hundreds of experimental subjects of varying sizes. No, 27. How did number 27 escape? I sent him to New York. I didn't let him die like this. He is the most perfect experimental subject. A man with a hunched head, who probably used a bottle of French wax every day, was furious while watching a midnight news break from New York. TV picture. The news reported was none other than the Big Bang in New York and news about the fire breathers in New York. SHIELD could not stop these media after all. His power used to be powerful, completely exceeding our expectations and exceeding the level that the virus should have. It is normal for him to be able to escape. A female doctor came over. She seemed a little afraid of men, but she still watched the news, said with a complex tone. Because of this, he is my key to perfection. Snapped. The man smashed the TV in front of him so hard that it shattered into pieces. His whole body was filled with an aura of irritability and anger. Can be seen. Lava-like lines began to flow on the man's neck. It was obvious that as the owner of this laboratory, he had also been injected with the same extremis. Aldrich Killian. The female doctor was startled. She quickly comforted the man in front of her. She knew he was a madman, a complete madman, who dared to inject himself before the virus was perfected. Until now, it's hard for female doctors to understand. How dare this man? Just relying on the blood of the so-called perfect experimental subject, I felt that I had found a way to make up for the sequelae, so I injected the extremis serum myself. Can normal people do such crazy things? Although the blood of that experimental subject is indeed a good stabilizer. But it does not mean that the injector can be as stable as the experimental subject. I'll be fine, it's just that if he dies, my key will be gone. I haven't figured out the secret hidden in him yet. The man named Aldrich Killian is the owner of Extremis, and the female doctor next to him is the original researcher of Extremis. You have to be responsible for finding a solution for me, Aldrich Killian said directly and viciously to the female doctor. His eyes were as fierce as a wolf's, and he gave orders to the female doctor with a threatening tone. The female doctor was a little silent. She looked at the heavily armed soldiers around her and knew that she had no right to refuse this man. I'll find it. She could only nod in humiliation. It better be so. Aldrich Killian waved his hand and left the room, leaving the female doctor silently squatting down and picking up the broken display screen again. After cleaning up the debris on the ground, the female doctor once again glanced at the soldiers who were wary of her, and started to play the experiment log with extremely complicated emotions. It is some research records of her and Aldrich Killian. Did number 27 survive? How could he survive? His body's rejection reaction is so severe, he shouldn't be able to coexist with Extremis. 2 people were caught in the video rushing into the laboratory. After some inspection. No, how is this possible? He actually fits Extremis perfectly. Extremis is in his body and stabilizes it to the extent we ideally want it to be. Perfect. This is perfect integrate. Aldrich Killian was extremely excited and was ready to inject himself. He drew a tube of blood from the experimental subject. At that time, the female doctor thought Aldrich Killian was just using it for research. She's in the video. He stayed to conduct conversation and physical research on experimental subject No. 27. You said that you were in pain all night last night and had a hazy dream. When you woke up, you felt more comfortable than ever before. The female doctor asked in the video about experimental subject number 27 who was killed by Chu Mu. I saw. Subject number 27 replied in a hoarse voice. Yes, I had a dream. In the dream, I seemed to have the ability to control flames originally. When I woke up, I found that I became what I am now. Said. He raised his hand. A fire burned in his hand. Extremis fit perfectly on him without any unstable reaction. It was as if he suddenly acquired the genes that fit Extremis. Dreaming. How do I study this? The female doctor watched the diary over and over again. I just feel like my head is big. Can you gain super ability by dreaming? How could there be something so unscientific? What happened at Aldrich Killian's research base? Except for those parties present. I guess only heaven knows and the earth knows, and the ancient one who likes to use time gem to catch up on dramas. She has watched countless past episodes of this universe, and it is impossible to miss the protagonist of the universe, Iron Man, a desperate event that has a major turning point in his life. Aldrich Killian and Maya, the female doctor responsible for researching Extremis, probably never dreamed that everything they did would eventually come to nothing. Definitely, they will fail at this. In fact, Chu Mu, as someone who has seen the history of Marvel in a special way, actually knows it. This is also the reason why after Chu Mu was attacked by the Extremis experimental subject, he did not continue to pursue the matter too much. Chu Mu knows. Aldrich Killian will eventually jump out. Instead of going all out to find this mouse, it is better to wait for the mouse to come out and expose himself. When the old and new grudges are settled together, not only can we easily find Aldrich Killian to beat him, but we may also be able to accept the research results of this group of people on Extremis. As for this period of time, let Aldrich Killian study Extremis carefully. When the time comes, Chu Mu will be a fruit picker, and 1 kilobit of research data will not be left to shield. This way, in the future, the centipede serum created by Hydra will be directly aborted, and there will be no incidents of centipede warriors going crazy and killing people on the streets. Chu Mu thinks, this is definitely an act of justice. Fake superheroes will only step forward when a crisis strikes. A real superhero will solve the factors that create trouble in advance. I am definitely a good person. If I take away Extremis, the centipede serum will not be born in the future, and many innocent people will be saved. I am really a good capitalist who is willing to help others. Chu Mu looked at the scenery outside before dawn, and couldn't help but be moved by his own greatness. He's not just sitting here talking to himself with nothing to do. Mainly it was a nightmare. Awakened in the middle of the night. Chu Mu couldn't feel sleepy at all, so he could only imagine the future in bed. He couldn't be allowed to watch adult programs at night, right? What a dream. Chu Mu watched the sky getting brighter before he got up and went to the bathroom to wash up. Even though it had been a long time, he still felt that he could not let go of his dream. How to say? The first half of the dream was quite enjoyable. Chu Mu dreamed that he was standing in the clouds as his ancestor, opening his hands to accept the worship of the people. Not only were a lot of beauties clamoring to have monkeys with him, but even the famous singer Swift wrote a song specifically for him. A song to express my desire to be with him and have a baby with him. Chu Mu was in the first half of the dream. It was extremely enjoyable. I also feel the ultimate happiness that my faith value is soaring upward due to the admiration and enthusiasm of the people. And then, 1 fishing, 2 fishing, 10,000 fishings. However, just when Chu Mu was planning to use as many belief points as his ID number to fish, the system's prize pool would be completely emptied for fishing. A figure shrouded in sunlight flew from the sky and punched him to the ground. There was a movement like a meteorite hitting the earth, causing a movement like landslides and sea cracking. The earth cracks. The ocean boils. It's as scary as the end of the world. While Chu Mu was being beaten into a pig's head, he also saw the face of the person who beat him. It was Superman. It's the genuine Superman coming to fight piracy. Do not know why. Chu Mu's first reaction in the dream was actually the dispute between genuine and pirated copies. Well, dreams are inherently illogical. Anyway, Superman's expression looks extremely angry. In the dream, Chu Mu obviously couldn't think about why Superman appeared in the Marvel world. He only felt Superman's fist hitting his cheek like a violent storm. Next developments. This makes it even more obvious that dreams are illogical. Superman is a bit too strong. And Chu Mu's ability to resist being beaten is also outrageous. He will definitely fight back. However, the ability of the ancestors is obviously not as good as the genuine Superman. After all, the genuine Superman can become stronger in the sun, and can even evolve to transcend dimensions. So no surprise, Chu Mu was the one who was suppressed and beaten. Fortunately, it was just a dream, and Chu Mu could not feel any pain or aggrieved. He just wondered when he could stop. The earth was penetrated, the earth was shattered, and the avenue was wiped out. It was jumping to the platform. The universe has been shattered into pieces, and I don't know how Homelander's physical fitness can survive in a vacuum like Superman. Anyway, it's the same sentence, dreams have no logic. The person who was beaten by Chu Mu was not seriously injured, but there were all kinds of corpses scattered around. They are all the poor people who have been affected. What about the 5 gods, the court of life? By the end of the game, the entire universe seemed to be dead silent. This is revenge for my cousin, her belly. At the end of the dream when I am about to wake up. Chu Mu seemed to hear Superman roaring and roaring. He shouted something, but he couldn't remember it clearly after he woke up. It's absurd and bizarre. Maybe it's because I always think in my mind that Homelander can't defeat Superman, so I have such a ridiculous dream. Chu Mu didn't pay much attention to the content of the dream. Mainly after waking up, feeling very frustrated. Although it was just a dream to be beaten all the time, no one else would be happy, even if the person who took action was the genuine Superman. I'm not pretending to be someone else, and piracy can't be traced to me. Chu Mu muttered in a low voice and packed up her belongings. As someone who has always supported the genuine version, I even thought that the reason why I was qualified for this time travel was entirely because I read Philo novels before I traveled and liked the genuine version. Chu Mu feels that he is very positive. He still doesn't know that the name Superman has been placed on him by Nick Fury by coincidence. Definitely, even if she knew, Chu Mu would probably complain. Piracy or something. If you want to look for it, you should also look for the braised egg head. What's going on with him? Just because you don't have a stomach. In Chu Mu's mind, she could only vaguely remember Superman in the dream, saying something about his stomach. Superman doesn't have a beer belly either. Himalayas. Kamar Taj. As the most bald person in the Marvel Universe, Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One stands on the top of the mountains, with stars shining brightly in front of her in broad daylight. It's like being separated from the real world. That abnormal signal appeared again last night. It was stronger than ever. Time and space are weaker than ever before. Is there still no need for me to do anything now? She seemed to be talking to someone. There was no sound among the stars, but she seemed to hear the answer from someone. Okay, I see. I hope you're right. Ancient One's eyelids were slightly lowered, her expression was solemn, and a miniature Earth was spinning in her hand. I saw. There are more than 10 red dots flashing on this miniature Earth. Chu Mu made a selection in the garage of her suburban villa, finally fell in love with a Chevrolet coupe, and then drove on the road back to the city. Although yesterday's Burning Man incident was certainly sensational. But Chu Mu didn't plan to go to the company today. Instead, he planned to go to Wanshiwu. Los Angeles, where Wanshiwu is located, needed to cross New York to go to another city. After all, Vodka also said that the goods at Wanshiwu were a bit insufficient. He still has a lot of old inventory and has to go and replenish some goods for Sky. As for the newspaper office, Chu Mu believes that the company's outstanding talents will definitely be able to handle the company's affairs well. After all, his secretary is a high-level agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. This little thing. For high-level Agent Hill, there is no pressure at all. No. After entering the city, Chu Mu casually bought a copy of his newspaper and saw last night's Burning Man incident, which was first published in his newspaper. Not just the first reaction. There are even exclusive interior photos. It was the only photo that was leaked to the New York Times after the FBI sealed off the scene. This surprised Chu Mu slightly. To know, although Hill is a high-level agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., no matter when he joined the company, Hill never used S.H.I.E.L.D.'s energy to help the newspaper with news. For a while, when business was relatively sparse, he hinted very, very, very darkly more than once that he hoped Hill could get some exclusive political news. But even though Chu Mu had taken the hint to the extreme, Hill remained indifferent. Such a steady secretary actually helped the newspaper get the inside story about the Burning Man incident. Is S.H.I.E.L.D. planning to close the network? Chu Mu didn't quite believe it, so he looked at the authorship of this report. Natasha Romanoff. Romanoff. Good guy. Another familiar name. This time, there is no need to ask Chu Mu. Everyone knows where the inside photos of the Burning Man incident came from. S.H.I.E.L.D. is full of their own people, and Natasha Romanoff will definitely be able to get the photos easily. He just had to complain. The fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. agents use their real names when performing tasks should really be changed. Chu Mu recalled. Recently, he seems to have asked Hill to recruit some new employees for the newspaper because he knew that the curtain of Marvel was about to open and all kinds of news would inevitably come out one after another. It's just that he didn't expect Hill to give him such a hands-on operation. Black Widow Natasha Romanoff. Romanoff also came to work as a reporter. The widow must have gone through the back door. She must have gone through Hill's back door. Ahem. Don't worry about the ambiguity in your words. The point is that Chu Mu's own newspaper has hired another S.H.I.E.L.D. employee. If this continues, I'm afraid my newspaper will become the real headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D. Chu Mu felt a little funny. As everyone knows, there aren't actually many real S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in S.H.I.E.L.D. The two beautiful agents currently working undercover at Chu Mu newspaper are one of the few serious Aegis agents in the Hydra organization, S.H.I.E.L.D. Two capable men have been sent to the New York Times. Chu Mu really wants to ask Lu Dantu, do you still have reliable people around you? How can I be so virtuous and capable, being taken care of like this by Lu Dantu? Chu Mu was not that angry, but she just felt that Nick Fury was making a fuss out of a molehill. After all, he, Chu Mu, is not a dangerous person. It is completely unnecessary for him to have so many agents come to his newspaper office. Isn't this just giving him agents as part-time workers in vain? Hey Braised Egg is a good person. Chu Mu silently issued a good guy card to Hey Lu Dan. He actually didn't care too much about the fact that another agent had infiltrated the organization. No, he had infiltrated the newspaper office. After all, as long as there is no showdown, he can squeeze the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent's labor force to his heart's content, no matter what 996, directly 07. As a capitalist, Chu Mu is so bold. Agents are also people, and they are much more professional in their work than ordinary people. The key is, compared with those workers who resign at every turn and have to go to labor arbitration if they work overtime, S.H.I.E.L.D. agents have always worked hard without complaining. Definitely, there may also be some resistance. Only, miss, you don't want to be unable to complete your agent tasks just because you were fired, right? Chu Mu thinks it's okay for her to handle two S.H.I.E.L.D. social butterflies. Ding ding ding. Chu Mu's phone suddenly rang. It's the almighty man's phone number. Vodka, is everything done? Chu Mu answered the phone, remembering her instructions yesterday to ask Vodka to take care of the new company. Don't worry, boss, it's all done. I just returned to the company. Vodka's voice was slightly hesitant, but after a moment of hesitation, he began to say, Boss, I saw a woman with a big butt in the company. I think she has a big butt. He doesn't look like a good person. Vodka would call Chu Mu boss in private calls, but only in person would he call Chu Mu boss because he wanted to hide it. After hearing Vodka's complaint, he was very indignant. Chu Mu was immediately happy. A senior member of the dark organization in Kei Shui's world actually opened his mouth to say that others don't look like good people. Chu Mu only felt that this scene was a bit outrageous. Then who do you think she is? Chu Mu asked. Rat. She smells like a rat. I've been following Brother Jin for so many years, and I can tell if it's a rat at a glance. Vodka spoke decisively. Chu Mu was slightly surprised. This guy was really wrong. However, Chu Mu still found it difficult to agree that Vodka and Jin could distinguish mice. Just leave her alone. She really is a rat. However, compared to Hill, who is so stingy, I am quite touched by her actions of not minding using shield resources to shine a light on my newspaper. Chu Mu once again looked at the newspaper reports about the Burning Man. Not only were they high-definition close-up photos of the deceased, but there were also articles written by experts who had personally analyzed the aftermath. He has a high opinion of Natasha Romanoff. It can be seen that Natasha Romanoff must be trying to stand out and climb up after performing so hard. As for the purpose of this legendary female agent coming to the newspaper office, as long as it can create value for Chu Mu and create a steady stream of faith points, Chu Mu nowadays doesn't mind too much about people wanting to explore his secrets. After all, Gwen already knew it, so it wouldn't be too far away from S.H.I.E.L.D. knowing it. That little girl didn't seem to have the personality to be able to hide her identity. Okay, boss, then I'll keep an eye on her here to see what she wants to do. Vodka's voice contained a bit of hatred for the undercover agent. Obviously. Same as Jin, he also hated undercover agents. No, I still have a new task to give you. Chu Mu rejected Vodka's proposal and spoke in a slightly meaningful tone. What mission? Vodka is also a diligent employee with few complaints. As soon as he heard that there was a new task, he immediately sat up straighter. Should I cooperate with my elder brother in killing people, or should I accuse someone of infringement? If the accusation is unsuccessful, I can also directly kill the infringer. Upon hearing this tone, you know Vodka is an old salesman. No, not at all. I want to give you a more important task. Chu Mu's voice was lowered, with a somewhat meaningful tone, and just when Vodka was confused, he continued to speak. Go run for president. This was Chu Mu's idea before. Now, he already has plans to turn it into reality. What? Vodka was shocked. Vodka, former terrorist, Russian blood. He was actually going to be entrusted with an important task by the boss, asking him to compete for the president of the great free country. What a development this is. It's just an attempt. It doesn't matter whether it succeeds or not. Chu Mu started the car. He definitely knew that Vodka was not particularly suitable. Only, nowadays, among the people under my command, the only thing they know most is Vodka. It doesn't matter if you try, it doesn't matter if you fail, just think of it as accumulating experience. One thing to say, if it weren't for the directional fishing function. He really wanted to catch the female congresswoman in the black-robed world who could blow other people's heads off, but it wasn't because this congresswoman was tolerant. But she is very suitable for the path of politics. Definitely, until such a character is fished out, Vodka can still make do with it. Okay, I'll try my best to complete the task. Vodka didn't know. He is actually just a makeshift choice. Therefore, Vodka thought that Chu Mu had high hopes for him. After struggling for a while, he immediately answered in an passionate tone. At the moment, not to mention how excited Vodka is. It seemed that he was finally more useful than Brother Jin. Sure enough, there was no future for him just knowing how to kill. The eldest brother can only do some shameful things in the shadows. And he Vodka. Hey, the boss thinks he has the looks of a president. After Chu Mu put down the phone. Then we drove the car all the way to the New York airport. He had a phone call with Vodka and remembered what Sky had asked Vodka to remind him before, so he had to go to Los Angeles now. I want to talk about some gadgets from the world of science and technology, as well as gadgets from the world of Harry Potter. Where are they best sold in the great free country? That is of course Los Angeles, known as the City of Angels. It has the largest number of wealthy people in the great free country, as well as many big stars who like novelty. The key is, the store called Master House is actually a magical grocery store opened in such a place, and it can also be taken care of by Belmode, who has been filming movies here for many years. Basically nothing happened. Anyway, now, Chu Emu's Wanshiwu has entered a very stable stage. But because he is not short of money, Chu Mu is not very concerned about the income here, and the accounts that are transferred to his account every month are not touched at all. Boom. Private jets soar into the sky. Rich people like Chu Mu have their own private jets parked at the New York airport, which can be used at any time when needed. As for the car he drove to the airport, it was naturally flown there along with him. The happiness of rich people is so simple, and there is no need to consider whether it is troublesome or not. Fake rich people change cars when they go somewhere, while real rich people take their favorite car with them wherever they go. Sky. As soon as Chu Mu arrived in Beverly Hills, where the Master House is located. From a distance, I saw that my small foreign-style building had turned into ruins. I have such a big house. The sports car drifted and stopped in front of the ruins. Chu Mu stuck out his head and looked at the girl sitting in front of the ruins with a look of surprise. You ask me, I'll ask you again, I almost died. Sky's face was covered in black smoke dust. After seeing off the police and firefighters, she was still thinking about what happened in the morning with some fear, but she didn't expect that her boss would appear in front of her like this. Suddenly, Sky seemed to have found a target for venting. Not only is the robot you sent me so mentally retarded that no one bought it, you actually didn't tell me that it would explode. The girl covered her head. The annoyance of surviving the disaster filled her mind. God can prove it. She was the one who casually asked the mentally retarded robot, what is the meaning of life, when she was on the internet. In the end, the mentally retarded robot just asked brain overload exploded. The power is not that great. The whole building was blown up. Sky was even surprised. How did I survive? Why did I survive such a huge explosion? Are you okay? Chu Mu remembered that she had sent a robot invented by Dr. Ali a few years ago. It was immediately clear what had happened. The invention made by Dr. Ali from Kexue World, the explosion seemed to be normal. Although he had checked the danger, he did not expect that a robot made of lithium electrons could be so powerful. Really, things from the Kexue World. Can't talk about science. My boss, do you think I'm okay? Sky stood up and turned around. His whole body was covered with injuries, but they were not serious. Actually, you can still argue with Chu Mu here, it is definitely not possible to be seriously injured. More money. This month's salary needs to be increased. The girl spoke decisively to Chu Mu, with a determination that if the other party did not agree, she would die with Chu Mu. Okay, double the salary, no, 5 times. Sorry, I didn't think carefully. Chu Mu apologized quickly and embarrassedly. Originally, Sky still wanted to yell a few words, but when she heard about 5 times the salary, her originally dissatisfied expression suddenly became happy. No way, who told Chu Mu to give too much? Okay, boss, it's okay, I can handle it. Sky's attitude changed completely, and she even became a little excited. 5 times the salary, she can replace her computer with a new top-of-the-line graphics card. Well, the CPU and motherboard can also be replaced. Just thinking about it makes her feel excited. How much inventory is there? Chu Mu walked around the ruins a few times and asked. He was not curious about why Sky survived. After all, being his employee is dangerous. Therefore, he had already equipped Sky with protective equipment when he put her in charge of the all-in-one house. The special protective necklace for Aurors from the world of Harry Potter can withstand a lot of damage, and the explosion of a small robot is naturally within the tolerance range. There aren't many left, just some anesthesia needles and some solar-powered jet skateboards. After all, things like voice changers and button trackers have been bought by that godly organization a long time ago, Sky said. Shen Nao Nao's organization is naturally S.H.I.E.L.D. For Chu Mu, the agent device of the master house, Shield has always been a big orderer. After all, items in Kexue world can avoid many detection methods. Are all the snacks like BB's all-flavored beans, rock cookies, and chocolate frogs sold out? Chu Mu raised her eyebrows in slight surprise. He didn't suspect that Sky was lying, but he couldn't understand it. Forget about the chocolate frogs, BB's multi-flavored beans that smelled so much of boogers, and rock crust cakes that most people lost their teeth when chewing them. It was unprecedented, all sold out. In the past, this was all a backlog of goods. Definitely, otherwise I wouldn't have called vodka. You blocked me on your phone again. Or you changed your phone number to a new one. I can't get through to you at all. Sky was getting irritated again. After all, I don't want to receive someone's invitation in the middle of the night and change my phone from time to time. I'm afraid you will directly locate the location of my phone. Chu Mu rolled his eyes angrily. Who would have thought? Not only was Sky not shy, she even shook her hair, bit her lip at Chu Mu, and said, "Can't I have a heart that wants to be on top? Good guy." Kai Guouo's seduction is like this. It can't be said that Sky is so shameless, mainly because people in Europe and America are indeed so direct. And for Sky, Chu Mu was not only handsome and rich, but also gave her a place to stay when she was most helpless. Girls' feelings are always poetry. Although the expression was a little more enthusiastic, it was difficult for Sky not to have thoughts about Chu Mu after such an experience. In fact, she never thought about whether the palace was right or not. Just wanted to give it away. Just wanted to give it away. However, Chu Mu didn't seem to be interested in her first blood at all. This made Sky feel a little frustrated and stimulated her competitive spirit. Anyway, within these years, Sky has always tried to find ways to give first blood, but it is not difficult to see from the current situation that her battle of wits and courage obviously did not achieve the desired success. Can only say, even if I want to send blood, I can't succeed. It really made Sky feel crazy. Sometimes she even wanted to give Chu Mu some medicine. The inspiration for this idea also came from Chu Mu, because of the drug called Love Potion that Chu Mu sent over a few times but never sold. Just by hearing the name, you know what it is for. I don't know how effective this medicine is. It can't be said that Chu Mu is not lewd. It can only be said that Chu Mu has no interest in attacking minors. You should be only 17 this year, right? After all, Chu Mu once grew up under the red flag, and some concepts are still different from those of Europeans and Americans. What's wrong with being 17? Others can have children at the age of 17. Sky responded confidently, and even paused her chest. Forehead, not big, but not small either. You can't do it, right? Sky used a very poor provocation method. It definitely won't have any effect on Chu Mu. Don't be poor there. Come here quickly to move new goods. I'll have something to do later. Chu Mu walked to the trunk of his vehicle. Isn't it because I want to see that big star? Tisk tisk. Sky was a little angry. But after comparing them, she still found with some despair that there was still a big gap between herself and Belmode. There are considerable differences in all aspects. Others are taking good care of you too. Can you be more careful with her? Belmode is in Amazon right now, filming the anaconda that I invested in. Chu Mu opened the trunk, and there were a lot of new goods inside. Before he came here, he had already put the goods into the trunk in advance. As for where the goods are placed during normal times, this has to mention an item that Chu Mu once caught. Newman's suitcase. Anyone familiar with Harry Potter should know that in that magical world there is a spell that can cast space magic called the Invisible Stretch Curse. This suitcase is a suitcase with a traceless stretch spell. It can even hold a zoo inside, so it is regarded as a space equipment by Chu Mu. On weekdays, he would put the suitcase in a secret safe in a suburban villa. He is not afraid that the safe will be stolen, because the safe also comes from Fishing Harvest. Gomon's safe. It was an iron box as huge as a hut and very, very difficult to open. No one could easily move it away without Hulk. As for stealing, excuse me, the safe in Kei Shui's world was attached without a correct password and only Kaido Kid could open it. This was a very outrageous setting. It's useless no matter how skilled the locksmith is. The house has been blown up, and there is no place to put these things. After Sky came over, he didn't move, and just said with a confused look. Chu Mu sneered, "Huh. Do you think you can take a vacation because of this? Where is this happening?" Sky's thoughts were revealed, and he suddenly stuttered a little, and showed an embarrassing smile with a guilty conscience. "You have received 5 times your salary and still want paid vacation. You don't care about the dignity of a capitalist." Chu Mu moved out several solar skateboards. Subsequently, he picked out a key from the pile of keys in his trunk and threw it to Sky, who was in a hurry and almost missed it. Sky had a bad feeling in her heart. "Sorry, this building belongs to me." Chu Mu pointed at the standing houses surrounding the ruined bungalows. Sky was confused. Her eyes widened. "I just feel that poverty has limited my imagination. Darling, no wonder no one lives around here. It turns out that all the properties belong to the guy in front of me. Capitalists." Sky came to her senses. The whole person was visibly stunned. Obviously, it was because her little idea failed to come true, so she suddenly felt hopeless. She complained casually, and could only walk towards the bungalow with a bunch of goods in her arms. "My daddy." Suddenly, a soft, slightly shocked female voice came over. Although she was exclaiming, she could still hear the softness of the voice. "Sky, are you in trouble? Were you blown up by a bomb from the Stark group?" A girl wearing a small leather skirt walked over from a distance. She has an extremely outstanding appearance, rare purple pupils, she is pure and has the kind of cuteness that only students can have, and her figure is very attractive to Chu Mu. Although she is wearing a small leather skirt, her long legs and perfect body proportions make this girl look even more perfect than those models. This is a beauty who is at least 95%. Chu Mu made a judgment in her heart. She saw the girl's little leather shoes clicking, ran to Sky, who was carrying things, and began to ask with concern what was going on. "As you can see, our store exploded." Sky forced a smile when she saw the girl. She was still a little immersed in the sadness that a big accident had happened, but she still couldn't take a vacation. You told me before that your store bought a high amount of insurance, and then your store exploded. Could you be trying to cheat the insurance?" The girl hesitated to speak. She lowered her voice, but Chu Mu, who was not far away, heard her clearly. "One thing to say, Sky's character. Is it possible that such a thing can really happen? What a joke." As if someone had sued Sky, she glanced at Chu Mu not far away with a guilty conscience, and quickly refuted the girl in the leather skirt loudly. "Am I like that shameless liar? I'm a law-abiding citizen." Sky righteously criticized the girls for their outrageous views. "Why do you think the same thing as the police, the fire department, my psychiatrist, and those vampires from the insurance company?" "All right, it seems that Sky is also familiar with this area. Sorry, I was thinking wrongly." The girl in the leather skirt blushed and apologized quickly. Those who didn't know thought she had made some big mistake. In fact, she just had the same opinions about Sky that the police, fire brigade, Sky's psychiatrist, and insurance company employees would have. Chu Mu felt that these people had a pretty good eye for people. He wondered if Sky wanted to take a vacation, so he deliberately exploded the robot. She shouldn't be that smart. Chu Mu thought silently in her heart. At this time, Sky had already walked over to him, took his arm and started to introduce the girl in the leather skirt. "Did you see that this is our boss, a rich man on the Forbes list, and one of the 10 most influential people in the media industry last year in the New York Times? He is so rich, how could we still commit insurance fraud? Quote, that's illegal, and you see, all the foreign-style buildings here belong to our boss. This is completely a case of learning now and selling now." Chu Mu regretted the boast just now. No way. Who made him lose control of his mouth? Now that he saw the girl in the leather skirt with shocked eyes and a bit of curiosity, he could only return an awkward yet polite smile. After all, he is not a nouveau riche, so he cannot brag about his behavior in front of strangers, even if the bragging is true. "I'm not thick-skinned enough." Chu Mu silently found a shortcoming for herself in her heart. Hello, it turns out you are the owner of this magical food shop. You can call me Carrie. Nice to meet you." The beauty in the leather skirt looked at Chu Mu with light in her eyes. Chu Mu is very familiar, but feels a little different, not the same enthusiasm as those coquettish supermodels. "Your food is really delicious." The voice of the girl in the leather skirt named Carrie was filled with exclamation. Chu Mu was slightly startled. Could it be that this girl looked at him so warmly because the food sold in his shop was delicious? Although I don't like the eyes of those glamorous supermodels. But everyone understands this sense of gap. Chu Mu doesn't want to admit that he is not as attractive as delicious food. This feeling, all handsome guys should understand, right? It turns out, maybe Chu Mu is not as attractive to girls as the snacks from Wanqiwu, because the girl's eyes quickly shifted to the trunk of the Chu Mu sports car, where some goods that had not been moved out were displayed, and attracted this called Jiali's girls' snacks, or those delicious snacks packed in plastic bags. The light in Jiali's eyes became even brighter. She no longer looked at Chu Mu, but just stared at the snacks. Chu Mu even felt that this girl was drooling with greed. Should it be so exaggerated? Is there really such a thing that makes you drool when you see delicious food? Jiali is a big customer of our store. Didn't you ask why the sales of those snacks have improved? Jiali handled them all by herself. Sky introduced Carrie from the side. Good guy. It's not just about being pretty. Or a rich woman. To know, snacks such as chocolate frogs are not cheap for Chu Mu to sell. After all, every bag of snacks sold represents a fishing opportunity Chu Mu once had. Precisely because the price of a bag of tens of thousands of dollars, even S.H.I.E.L.D. felt that it was not worth it, so S.H.I.E.L.D. only bought a few symbolically and went back for research. After that, occasionally, only friends from Belmode's circle come to spend money. These people don't buy much. Although being an actor is a very profitable industry, spending on a brand new Chevrolet just to eat something different and delicious is also a luxury for celebrities. How to say, the money of these celebrities did not come from strong winds. After all, not everyone in the entertainment industry can easily earn tens of millions by cutting out pictures and thinking one thing or another. Since you are a regular customer, this is my share. Chu Mu picked up a box of chocolate cauldron cake, a very popular dessert in the Harry Potter world, and handed it to the girl in front of her who was blind to his charm. There is no such thing as a woman. You successfully caught my attention. He simply thinks that it is difficult to meet a girl who is so obsessed with food. Can be eaten. I can still maintain my figure very well. This is a fantasy for many girls. Thanks, thanks. Carrie took the cake carefully, with a happy smile on her face, but her eyes were still fixed on the large bag of snacks in the trunk. Apparently, a chocolate cauldron cake didn't satisfy her. Can I get it all covered? Carrie put the chocolate crucible cake on the ground first, then took out a black card from her trouser pocket and handed it over with a little red face. Swipe your card. I'm sorry, because I have never eaten your food before, so I am a little greedy. Please be sure to package and sell it to me. Probably because I feel a little embarrassed. Jiali held her black card in both hands and bowed deeply. Those who didn't know thought she was paying tribute. He doesn't look like a wealthy consumer at all. Black card. Chu Mu took a deep look at Jiali, and several surnames flashed through his mind. In the end, he couldn't think of any daughter of a top rich man with this name. When you open a business, you will never refuse a customer's request. Sky, why don't you come and pack the goods for our distinguished VIP customers? Chu Mu said to Sky. Does our store still have such a thing as VIP? Sky was a little dazed. She had been a part-time worker at Chu Mu for several years, and this was the first time she heard that Wanqiwu had a VIP setting. The Strategic Protection Bureau did not offer such treatment. It didn't exist before, but it exists now. Why are you so blind? From now on, VIP customers will receive a 9.20% discount on their purchases. Chu Mu rolled his eyes at Sky. He also hoped that the beautiful woman in the leather skirt in front of him could help him consume the food that was about to expire as soon as possible. The shelf life of food in the magical world was also limited. I just got the 9.20% discount with tears in my eyes. Well, the girl in the leather skirt seemed quite happy, thanking her all the time, and those who didn't know thought she got a huge discount. What a lovely girl. Chu Mu also smiled happily. He decided to come over next time. He just brought all the food over, called it an event, packaged it all together, and then sold it to the rich woman in front of him who seemed to have no knowledge of the world. What? Why is Chu Mu still thinking about how to make money when he is so rich? Hi, have you ever seen any capitalist who dislikes the fact that he makes too much money? What a great customer. Chu Mu watched the girl Jiali leave. He was a little surprised. A large bag of snacks weighed at least 100 kilograms, but he didn't expect that the other party could carry it with one hand without any difficulty. But then I thought about it, it's not like there are no weird Lolita things. Maybe others don't gain weight just because their energy is used to gain strength. Under Chu Mu's gaze, the girl Jiali gradually walked away. The little card given by the bald grandma is really good. Just take it out and give it to others to swipe it on the machine, and you can change it for whatever you want. Carrie smiled happily. She drooled slightly, and quickly took out a biscuit from her big pocket, chewing it crisply, and what she ate was actually a rock biscuit that was harder than a rock. Looking at the way she chews easily, this girl's teeth are really unusual. Definitely, Chu Mu was not able to see this scene. Naturally, it is impossible to express shock and confusion about this. Have you seen enough? Sky spoke from behind somewhat angrily, with a resentful tone. What do you know? You should seize such a high-quality financial sponsor. When I am free, I will teach you what business is. Chu Mu withdrew his gaze. He began to criticize Sky for not understanding business methods. Okay, I'm free tonight. I like studying the most. Sky's eyes lit up and she looked at Chu Mu expectantly. Chu Mu definitely knew what Sky was planning. He was speechless. How come this little girl never gave up the idea of sleeping with him? She acted like a weak woman who needed to be on guard against him. Why, female pervert, really untouchable, move it quickly. Chu Mu rolled his eyes angrily. He lifted a few heavier things and took the lead in walking towards the new foreign building. It's just something that weighs a few hundred kilograms. Chu Mu couldn't feel anything while carrying it. According to his current physical condition, it wouldn't be too easy to lift a truck or something. Hoo. The move is finally finished. Sky panted tiredly. I'm going to buy some shelves and stuff later. Do you want to come with me? Sky rested for a while before looking at Chu Mu, who was not blushing and out of breath. She found. Chu Mu actually turned on the TV and started watching it leisurely. Oh my god, do all these vacant houses have cable TV? The world of capitalists is terrible. With this kind of extra money, don't you know how to save and help the poor people? Just like her Sky, Chu Mu stood in front of the TV for a long time. What? I'm so fascinated by it. Sky wiped the sweat from his forehead and walked next to Chu Mu. I saw an interview with the famous entrepreneur Wilson Grant Fisk being played on the TV at the moment. Kingpin. Sky is a hacker. Over the years, I have often explored some secrets deep in the internet. She definitely also knows the identity of Wilson Grant Fisk, and at the same time, she also knows how much hatred there is between Chu Mu and Kingpin. We will find the time, but not now. He has too many desperados. It will not be easy to deal with him. Sky was a little worried that Chu Mu would be impulsive. In her perception, Chu Mu was just an ordinary person like her, only a few 100 million points richer than her. As ordinary people, even if it's a chaebol, want to deal with the biggest underworld boss in New York. That's not a simple thing either. It's also difficult to assassinate. After all, a talk show like this was planned by Kingpin himself behind the scenes, and only Kingpin and his subordinates knew where it was recorded. By the time the public could see the interview, Kingpin no longer knew where he was. Yes, there will be a chance. Chu Mu answered in a low voice. Sky next to him did not see it. There was a slight red light shining in his eyes. When is the opportunity? Chu Mu thinks. The next time you meet Kingpin is your chance. If that didn't work, when the Battle of New York came, he would take the opportunity to visit all the places where Kingpin might stay. A mouse can't hide forever. Even if it lurks deep enough and blows up all the mouse holes, it can finally get its long-cherished wish. The only time Chu Mu was very close to death was the assassination of Jin Bin. How could he not hate Jin Bin? He is not a virgin superhero. And while Chu Mu was secretly plotting in her heart, Jin Bin was talking happily on the TV screen. From people's livelihood, to the rot in politics today, to how he can make New York great again. Obviously, this guy is ready to jump out and participate in the election again. Such a maggot leader actually has a chance to run for office. The world is crazy, Sky shouted angrily from the side. And at this moment, suddenly, the interview screen on the TV screen flickered, and after the interruption, it cut directly to another screen. Urgent interruption of important news. Tony Stark, CEO of Stark Group, has gone missing following a terrorist attack in Afghanistan. According to the news sent back by our reporter in Afghanistan, Tony Stark, the New York Playboy, is very likely to have died. Director Obadiah of Stark Group said that as an uncle who watched Tony grow up, he was unwilling to accept this painful result. Director Obadiah of Stark Group is now willing to spend $5 million to offer a reward for information about Tony Stark. What a news break. It's really big news. Otherwise, it was also impossible to interrupt Kingpin's interview program. Did that fancy company of the Stark Group fail? Skye exclaimed, covering her mouth in disbelief. In her opinion, when faced with a terrorist attack, or in an extremely dangerous third world country, Tony Stark's ability to coax young models can't help. They have all disappeared. Doesn't this mean that they are completely dead? Not necessarily. Chu Emu's eyes narrowed slightly, and he was also slightly startled. However, because he had expected it, he quickly recovered. I didn't expect it to be so soon. This is the time I've been waiting for. Chu Mu took out his mobile phone and dialed Vodka's number directly. How much spare money do I have? Straight to the point question. Vodka, who was studying hard on the book, The Cultivation of a Politician, on the other end of the phone, was slightly startled. As Chu Emu's professional lawyer and financial professional, he quickly reported to Chu Mu on the other end of the phone all the cash that Chu Mu could use now. Only 2 billion. I am still a poor person. Chu Mu felt slightly frustrated when he found out that he only had 2 billion in cash. The efforts of 3 generations. He also promoted the family business. In addition to hundreds of real estate properties, he could only spend 2 billion to buy the shares of Stark Group. What a big loss. The so-called profit is not enough, then it can be regarded as a loss. This is the basic quality of capitalists. Chu Mu did not have time to hesitate and think for too long. When the share price of Stark Group drops, buy all the shares of Stark Group from me. Chu Mu could predict that the share price of Stark Group would inevitably plummet. After all, this is a company that is highly tied to the Stark family and relies heavily on the men of the Stark family to create capabilities. It has few outstanding aspects of its own. In this situation, it's not just stock prices that will plummet. And it was originally a difficult situation. It will also become a rush to sell. Tony Stark, who is the core, has been announced to have died with a high probability. In the stock market, there must be many people who know this and are selling stocks crazily. Chu Mu doesn't have to worry about not being able to buy shares of Stark Group. 2 billion. Buy them all. Vodka firmly implemented Chu Emu's will. He didn't know any news about whether Stark was dead or not. Anyway, if the boss asked him to do it, he would help him do it. Are you crazy? Playboy is dead and I don't think anyone wants the shares of Stark Group. You actually want to spend all your money to buy them. Skye, who was on the sidelines, witnessed Chu Emu's crazy behavior throughout. She heard Chu Mu and Vodka calling. Although it is not her money, she is still worried that Chu Mu will become a member of the Tiantai clan. You know, I have some special abilities, so I know Stark isn't going to die. This is an opportunity to make a lot of money. Chu Mu looked at the concerned Skye and explained with a smile. As someone close to him, he did not hide too much. Forehead. Skye froze. Isn't that a magic trick of yours? As soon as these words came out. Quote. Chu Mu was so confused. Dare to love. Skye never believed he had extraordinary abilities. Are you a pig? Can you make a jumping chocolate frog like this with a magic trick? Chu Mu wanted to find a pack of chocolate frogs, open them and throw them on Skye's face. Unfortunately, he looked around for a while but couldn't find it. Then he remembered that they were all bought by the foodie girl Carrie, so he could only knock Skye on the head. Why are you hitting me? After all, you are a normal person. You won't believe that you just waved the twig and cleaned the house. Skye felt that Chu Emu's cleaning up was a deception. That's magic. Do you understand magic? Chu Mu was speechless. So, you mean you can also do divination? Skye touched her head, which was a little painful from the knock. She felt that Chu Mu must have used a lot of strength. I don't know. If Chu-Mu really hit her on the head with all his strength, her head would probably turn into a shape similar to a watermelon. The kind of watermelon that explodes. When facing Sky, she looked like she had discovered a new world. You can understand it this way. Chu-Mu hung up the phone with vodka and dialed again. Are you really good at magic? Sky was a little surprised. She watched Chu-Mu start calling again and couldn't help but subconsciously guess. Are you planning to call the TV station to earn $5 million from Playboy's uncle? In Sky's opinion, $5 million is not a small amount. Since Chu-Mu has the ability of divination, there is no guarantee that he will be able to earn this money. Sky thought so, and still felt incredible about Chu-Mu's magical ability. Haha, I'm going to provide clues. Obadiah will probably have to hire killers overnight to attack me. He doesn't care about Stark as much as he shows. Although Chu-Mu did not directly say that Obadiah was the culprit of Tony Stark's disappearance. But, just this sentence, it already reminded Sky of the many TV dramas she had watched, in which stories about fathers and sons killing each other for power and money. The world of Capital is so dark. Sky, who wanted family affection but couldn't get it, felt very disgusted and incomprehensible about this. She looked at Leo Obadiah's pretending to be nervous and sad face on the TV news with disgust, for Sky always believed Chu-Mu's words. Look, magic is something that is so outrageous that no normal person would believe it. From the confirmation from Chu-Mu's mouth, Sky can immediately choose to believe it. Not to mention the nature of just a stranger, Sky is not familiar with Obadiah, she will definitely not doubt Chu-Mu's judgment. He actually wants his nephew to be killed and then dominates the entire group. He is so cruel and ruthless. Such a person really makes people shudder. Sky wanted to change the channel and didn't want to see Obadiah's face, but when she saw Chu-Mu on the phone, she didn't take the remote control in the end. Since you're not collecting the bounty, why are you calling in such a hurry? Sky didn't know much about many business matters. It's definitely for the newspaper's sales. Although I know Stark is still alive, the fact that he is still alive or dead can still attract a lot of traffic. The person Chu-Mu called was naturally his secretary Hill. Soon, the other party picked up the phone. Boss, are you calling me now because of Stark? Hill's voice on the other end of the phone was full of seriousness. The background sound is very noisy. I can tell. Newspaper offices are very busy these days. Yes, this is big news. Chu-Mu responded immediately, we can't lose to the TV station. We not only have to update our reports on this matter on our website, but also print a special issue of the newspaper. Believe me, Stark is worthy of our efforts. Quote. Everyone in the media knows it. Tony Stark is synonymous with traffic. In the past, if this guy had a meal with a beautiful woman, it would become a hot news, not to mention his suspected death now, which is definitely the biggest hit among the hits. The entire great free country, and even many other countries, will be stirred up by this. This money. In other words, this belief value. Chu-Mu is definitely impossible to let go. Understood, we are already doing this. Hill rubbed his eyebrows. Not only the newspaper office, but also S.H.I.E.L.D. was shocked. Now, many agents are still going to Afghanistan to look for clues about the Playboy. Director Nick Fury is not ordinary about this matter. If it weren't for the fact that she couldn't get around the newspaper office, she would have been sent out, and she didn't know what was so special about that Playboy. No, you don't understand what I mean. I'm not asking you to simply publish news and condemn terrorists in third world countries. Other media and other newspapers can do this. What you want is a different result. Chu-Mu's very strong voice came over. Even professionals like Hill are stunned. If we don't report on this, how can we report on other things? I want you to carefully analyze the reasons for this attack. Tony Stark's whereabouts cannot be detected by terrorists. Therefore, there must be an insider in the Free State who disclosed it to the terrorists. His whereabouts. You know, those terrorists can't even make missiles. It's obviously impossible to expect them to have a higher detection level than agents. Chu-Mu started giving instructions with a clear idea. As a person who knew all the causes and consequences of the matter, he was professional after the fact. Think about it, who would benefit the most if Tony Stark dies? Also, Tony Stark's body should not be found at the scene, right? Question after question. Hill, who listened carefully and thought at the same time, subconsciously gave the answer, which was official news from S.H.I.E.L.D. No, Mr. Stark's body was not found. That's for sure. How could the protagonist of Marvel be burped by a missile? That doesn't mean he must be dead. If you think about it this way, you can continue to write. If Tony Stark is alive, what benefits will he bring to terrorists? And he is most likely to be hidden by terrorists. At what point? Chu Mu guided step by step. The reason why he did this. He definitely wanted to gain the reputation of a divine prophecy for his newspaper after Tony Stark was rescued. Such a good opportunity did not come along all the time. As for whether it will be exposed too much. Haha, my family has almost become a S.H.I.E.L.D. branch, and I am still struggling with the issue of whether to expose it or not. Remember, you must invite experts, real experts. Chu Mu actually didn't know where Stark was being held. But, just because he doesn't know, it doesn't mean that S.H.I.E.L.D's experts can't study it with this information. Therefore, he emphasized the word expert. Hill's heart trembled when she heard it, and she felt a little weird. However, after all, she was still a professional agent. He quickly came to his senses. And I realized that Chu Mu's ideas may not be really helpful in searching for people. Especially if you think about who benefits the most from Stark's disappearance. It's just a word that wakes up the dreamer. Hill's intuition told her that if she continued to investigate in this area, she would definitely gain a lot. Clear. Hill nodded in amazement. Then do it. After Chu Mu finished speaking, he hung up the phone. In the newspaper office, Hill's expression did not calm down for a long time. After a long time, she took out her mobile phone and sent a message to her director's communicator. The target is suspected of possessing a strong logical prediction ability. It is not yet known whether this is the ability of a media family, or whether he has received professional skill training. One thing to say. A series of ideas from Chu Mu. It did clarify the idea for Hill. Although this idea may take some time, agents like them may be able to discover it on their own. But the other party actually thought it through before they did. This ability was enough to make Hill feel stunned. S.H.I.E.L.D. got the news earlier than the public. Result: the reaction speed is not as fast as that of a newspaper owner. Dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door. A charming woman walked in. Natasha Romanoff. Hill looked at the people coming in and said, "You shouldn't be still here at this time. Phil Coulson has already been sent to Afghanistan." The implication: Natasha Romanoff should also go looking for Stark. After all, that playboy is not only valued by the director, but the meaning he represents is even related to the fate of the country. It is precisely because of this that I should stay here and continue the investigation that Phil Coulson failed to complete. Natasha Romanoff chuckled and sat across from her. What's the meaning? Hill frowned slightly. She was a little confused. Didn't Phil Coulson take charge of those supernatural incidents? If Natasha Romanoff takes over, this newspaper shouldn't be investigated. Unless, Hill's pupils shrank slightly, and he looked at the smiling Black Widow in front of him with disbelief. No need for the other party to tell. Hill already knew the answer from the other party's expression. Chu Mu didn't stay in Los Angeles for long. He also didn't have the idea in many fan novels that when he heard Stark was in trouble, he would run to rescue him for various reasons. Not to mention what a difficult place Afghanistan is. If Tony Stark would die there, it would obviously mean that Tony Stark does not have the aura of the protagonist. So what's the point of going all the way to save him? In other words, Tony Stark deserves to be rescued. Then Tony Stark must be the protagonist of Marvel. And if this conclusion is true, what difference does it make if you go or not? Maybe this description sounds a bit convoluted. But that's the fact, and you can figure it out with a little bit of reasoning definitely. It's definitely not the Marvel nanny-like behavior of Chu Mu who is too lazy to do it. No. Fortunately, I run fast, otherwise I would have been drugged by Sky's Tiger Girl. Chu Mu drove his sports car on a deserted road. He was still frightened. Unexpectedly, after the old bungalow was destroyed, Sky actually secretly hid a small bottle of love potion. And while I was still cooking, I was holding the intoxicant and was struggling for an unknown amount of time as to whether I should put it into Chu Mu's meal. Fortunately, Chu Mu entered the kitchen and saw Sky's evil deeds to no avail. Otherwise, he would have capsized in the gutter tonight. By the time That is no longer just a matter of being underage or not. Can love potions be eaten randomly? Although this product works quickly and lasts only a short time, according to Chu Emu's low-end version of Wolverine, it can be completely metabolized in 3 to 5 minutes. Don't be afraid of 10,000, just be afraid of the unexpected. 5 minutes is enough for many stories to happen. Definitely, what Chu Mu is afraid of is not that he will find out that he is done 5 minutes later. But 5 minutes later, when he woke up, he found that he was doing something indescribable. Should he continue or not? This is the most unacceptable thing. Too fierce. Chu Mu was in shock. This year, there are not many situations that can scare him anymore, but the female pervert is still a somewhat difficult existence for Chu Mu to fight against. Sky actually looks good and has a good figure. However, Chu Mu still couldn't accept Sky's repaying gratitude type of devotion. Definitely, the fact that the other party is underage is also one of the reasons. Holy crap, where did I drive to? Because Chu Mu was always thinking about Sky, he didn't realize that he had deviated from the direction back to the city. No way, Chu Mu can't be entirely blamed for driving carelessly, but the road conditions in the Great Free Country are like this. A large wilderness or jungle will pass between the two cities. This is a country with fewer people and more land. Therefore, for example, Los Angeles and New York are separated by more than 4,000 kilometers, of which more than 3,000 kilometers are desolate areas. There are not many reference points in these areas except for the occasional road signs, so getting lost in this country is a common thing. And, a few years, there is no mobile phone navigation yet, and the car navigation is also very awkward. Haven't you seen in so many horror movies in this era, the protagonist and his group all started because they got lost? Chu Mu regretted that she had taken a road trip on a whim. In the wilderness, how could she sleep peacefully in her mansion in such an environment? Not just lost. Moreover, heavy rain began to slowly fall in the sky, and dark clouds began to gather, as if a storm was about to blow. The visibility when driving was appallingly low. Not to mention looking for any signs, Chu Mu could not recognize where he had driven the car while driving. Could it be that he was punished by God for scheming against the Stark group? It's impossible, he just wants to make some money. Wasn't he just buying Stark stock at a low price and preparing to sell it all as soon as Tony came back and the stock price rose? Isn't it that after the sell-off, we are still waiting for Stark Group to announce the closure of the weapons industry and the stock price falls to the bottom again, and then wait for the stock price to skyrocket again because of Stark's invention of new energy, successfully converting 2 billion into at least 200 billions. This year, isn't he allowed to earn even 20 billion? God cannot be so heartless. No, I almost forgot that the God of the Marvel Universe is super crotchless. He can't control these things. Maybe it's just my bad luck. Chu Mu comforted herself. She was having bad luck now, probably because she had saved all her luck for the lottery after 12 o'clock. That's it. Is there actually a bar in this kind of wilderness? It seems to be prepared for those bosozokus and those wild racers. Chu Mu drove for several hours and found that the road was getting increasingly difficult to find, but he found a bar. He couldn't help but feel very surprised. Wilderness bar. He hasn't encountered it yet. Could it be that there really is a ghost? That would be so exciting. Chu Mu didn't dare to eat the evening meal, so he was a little greedy when he saw the bar. He parked his sports car on the side of the road. Braving the wind and rain, we walked to the bar. The walk was not long, but when we reached the bar, Chu Emu's clothes were already soaked through. Let me see, a rich man, tisk tisk, we don't have flashing lights here, nor do we have the expensive wines you like to drink. The bartender standing under the eaves of the bar door was a tall and muscular man wearing a big iron chain. He saw Chu Mu parking the car and walking over. Then he whistled at Chu Mu. I just want to eat something casually. Juice is fine. You don't know, but I was very unlucky along the way. Chu Mu responded with a shrug. I can see that you are in a very embarrassed state. But sorry, kid, our place is not open to outsiders. Only Angel is allowed to enter. However, the burly man stopped Chu Mu and pointed at himself dressed in a hippie outfit. What he calls Angel is actually a boast of hippie culture. Angel. Chu Mu's eyes narrowed slightly. Have you met Angel? He smiled and looked at the burly man in front of him. This man's physique was relatively fat, and he looked much bigger than the muscular Chu Mu. I have nothing to say to a kid like you who doesn't understand anything. Listen, if you continue driving along this road, you can reach a small town in 2 hours at most. The burly man glanced at Chu Mu disdainfully. That town has what you want. Trust me, you don't want to make me unhappy. It pissed me off. In a deserted place, even if a rich young man like you died here, the police would never be able to find the murderer. A vicious threat, said. The strong man also showed off his skull tattoo to Chu Mu. One thing he said was that it was so intimidating that Chu Mu was so frightened that he wanted to laugh out loud. Fortunately, he is professional at suppressing laughter. Chapter 41. Facing the threat of strong men. Chu Mu is very cowardly. He was so cowardly that he couldn't control his trembling arms. I just want to know if you have seen the real Angel. Chu Mu suddenly stretched out a hand and pinched the strong man's neck. Then, he effortlessly lifted the strong man up. The strong man's face was red due to some suffocation, and his expression began to be filled with fear. What a joke. I weigh a full 300 kilograms. Why did the other party grab him with one hand? If you haven't seen it, I will be happy to send you to meet it. Anyone who knows Chu Mu's character knows that he is the kind of person who is polite to you, and I will be polite too. If you want to provoke, he will the kind that don't mind just flipping the table. Look, Angel is waving to you. Chu Mu exerted slight force. The strong man wanted to struggle and pry Chu Mu's hand away. However, how could he, an ordinary human being, compare with the strength of 6 or 7 Captain Americas? There could be 7 or 8, maybe 10. Chu Mu didn't have a good reference for his current physical fitness. Let go. The big man did see Angel waving. He felt like he was about to burp, rolled his eyes, and thought of the dog he kept at home. Yes, no wife or children. I can only recall the dog I raised. Memories of revolving lanterns began to flash in the strong man's mind. With this little ability, you're threatening to kill me. Chu Mu shook his head. He probably felt that he had been taught a lesson, and he was not a person who liked to kill indiscriminately, so he threw the strong man to the ground like a dead dog. Ahem. The strong man felt the vitality of life again. He covered his neck and gasped for air on the ground. He kept coughing and looked at Chu Mu with eyes filled with fear. Only experienced. Only then did I understand how terrifying Chu Mu's power was. At least for someone like him who had never seen anything extraordinary in his life, Chu Mu was as powerful as the scary monster his grandmother told about when he was a child. Wilderness monster. The classic movies he watched as a child came to mind and filled the bartender's mind. Don't think this name is so ridiculous. For people of this age, the TV series and movies they watched when they were young are naturally not very mature, so their childhood shadows are definitely different from those of some young people. You should have heard Angel tell you just now that I can enter this bar, right? Chu Mu looked like a kind and sunny smile. When it fell into the eyes of the strong bartender, it was extremely scary. Yes, definitely yes. The brawny bartender quickly expressed with a hint of horror that he had indeed heard it. Even if he hadn't heard it, he had to show that he heard it for the sake of his own life. That's good. Chu Mu nodded with satisfaction. He stepped past the strong bartender, pushed open the swaying wooden door, and entered the bar where there were many hippies. About the same time Chu Mu walked into the bar, there was lightning and thunder in the wilderness more than 1,000 meters away, and a few sparks fell from the sky. Storms of wind and rain swept across the earth, dark clouds pressed overhead, and a long bolt of lightning suddenly struck, and a figure stepped out among the falling sparks. He was wearing a black robe and his skin was pale. That face that was supposed to be pretty handsome had an appearance that didn't look like what a living person should have at all. Roar. Probably coming to this area made the man in black robe very excited. He looked around and laughed wildly with his mouth wide open. Human world. I'm coming. The huge mouth is full of sharp teeth like fangs. It's a demon that escaped from hell, the witch heart demon. The other side. Chu Mu walked into the bar. Among the bars, because there were storms and thunder and lightning outside, these people didn't know what was going on outside. Only, they saw that a new face suddenly came in, and he was not wearing their uniform yet, which made these guys look at Chu Mu. How could a guy with no hair spread out sneak in? It's bad luck. He's wearing casual clothes and he's totally incompatible with us. How can Bob guard the door and let such a person in? Maybe he's a relative of Bob. Want to come and get to know him better. If Bob has such relatives, why would he be a bartender here? Did you see this young man's clothes? One piece costs tens of thousands of dollars. A group of hippies were chattering. Chu Mu frowned slightly. After looking around, this place was not too clean. It was filled with smoke and smelled of marijuana and tobacco. It was indeed very different from the bar in his impression. A bottle of Jack Daniels and a bag of quick bread. Chu Mu saw the shelves on the bar and prepared to buy something before leaving this smoky place. Angel, these hippies really know how to beautify themselves. They're just a bunch of drug addicts. Take more puffs. It's true that you can see Angel early, the degenerate kind. There really isn't any good wine in this bar. Jack Daniels is already on the top shelf. Okay. The person in charge of the bar was a hot blonde girl who looked quite pretty. When she saw a handsome guy like Chu Mu walking into the bar, her eyes lit up. Too many fat middle-aged hippies. Suddenly seeing a handsome guy is definitely an unexpected surprise for the hot blonde girl. Therefore, her attitude towards Chu Mu is very good. She also enthusiastically recommended her favorite fast food to Chu Mu. When collecting the money, the hot blonde girl boldly handed Chu Mu a note. Hope to get your call. The hint of blonde hottie was already obvious. Definitely. Chu Mu politely raised the note, and although he was going to throw it into the trash can after going out, he still put it in his pocket in front of others. He has no interest at all in this kind of romantic relationship, especially if you want to make a date when you meet. Who knows how many viruses there are in the body. Although he is not afraid, it does not mean that Chu Mu wants to get involved. You're leaving now, boy. Why don't you come and have a drink with us? Ha ha ha, this young man's drinking capacity is probably only one bottle. If you let him drink with you, you want to see his joke. What are you talking about? Young man, don't leave. Come over and have a drink together. I have marijuana here. Do you want to have a good time together? Chu Mu ignored these people and walked out of the door. Just walked out. Then I saw the bartender, who might have rested for a while and regained his strength, stopped a thin and pale young man. Only angels are allowed in here. Good guy. This is the only line that goes on and on. Just had a meal. Another person bullied me. Didn't you even change the lines? Interesting. Chu Mu chuckled and shook his head. Holding the things you bought, you were ready to leave. However, I never expected that the young man who was scolded by the strong man had no intention of ignoring the strong man. Instead, he suddenly turned his head and looked at Chu Mu. The pair of eyes that were originally normal suddenly turned as dark as ink. Your soul smells delicious. A bolt of lightning flashed at this time. The face of the pale young man was illuminated very clearly. Under his seemingly human face, there seemed to be a hideous and terrifying face hidden. Evil. Devil. The bartender clearly saw the young man's eyes and the vague and terrifying face. He was so frightened that he stumbled back a few steps, his face frightened, and because he stepped on the can he threw on the ground, his strong body he fell solidly to the ground. It looks like our angel is scared. The pale-skinned young man looked at the burly bartender, smiling proudly but also with a coldness. The bartender grew more horrified under his gaze. The pale-skinned young man was very satisfied in his heart. As a prince in hell, he enjoyed others' fear of him. No, I didn't see anything. Don't look for me, don't look for me. The strong bartender and the pale-skinned young man looked at each other. He became more and more frightened. There is no doubt about the young man's identity as a burly bartender. People here in Europe and the United States have always known one thing. The devil's eyes are pure black, and the young man's eyes now happen to be as dark as ink, as if they can swallow people's souls and make people feel boundless fear just by looking at them. Hip-hop people like the bartender Zhuang Man believed in these things. Now that he saw it with his own eyes, he naturally realized what he had encountered immediately. Demon. A real devil. Those props such as contact lenses cannot achieve such an effect. Witch heart demon. Chu Mu was indeed hungry. Faced with such an abnormal scene, he actually took out a piece of instant bread from the plastic bag and gnawed it. At this time, he actually realized who the pale young man in front of him was. You can't blame him for his slow reaction. It has been almost 20 years since I traveled to the Marvel Universe, and it is already very difficult to still remember the things I saw in my previous life. After all, in the past, he simply felt that he was living in the Marvel movie universe. What he focused on was strengthening the memories related to the Marvel movie universe. Although I still remember the contents of the comic, I still need to think about it, the Witch Heart Demon, who appears in the plot about Ghost Rider. His father is Mephisto, the Lord of Hell. Although Mephisto has many sons, he can still be regarded as a demon in hell because of his bloodline. Before the transformation, the witch-hearted demon likes to disguise itself as a human being. To be honest, the human appearance of witchcraft is still a bit handsome. Definitely, if compared with Chu Mu, there should be several Keanu Reeves in the middle. Not to mention, the human appearance is just a disguise. The real appearance of the witch-heart demon is actually a red-eyed demon with a mouth full of fangs, and his appearance is more like a medieval vampire. Just like other traditions in hell where father is kind and son is filial. The witch-heart demon is not satisfied with being his own prince in hell. He is a very motivated demon. Therefore, his dream is to replace his father in ruling hell and bring hell to the human world. It is precisely because of his dream that the witch-heart demon found the opportunity to come to the human world. He wants to use something called the Saint Fangan's contract to absorb the souls of the dead who have been sleeping for hundreds of years, so as to become the new demon king and defeat Mephisto. Definitely, this demon who was ambitious and daring to fight was ultimately unable to fulfill his wish and was eliminated by Ghost Rider using the Eye of Judgment. Think of this. Chu Mu just has to complain. Wu Shinmo's brain is definitely not very easy to use. Otherwise, how could he believe the nonsense about the Saint Fangan's contract that can make him angry? If the souls of hundreds of people can give birth to power that surpasses Mephisto, then what is the identity of Mephisto, the Lord of Hell? Although Vincent's soul was extraordinary, he was a devout believer who fell after being tempted by the devil. But Mephisto actually doesn't care much about this little bit of power. Otherwise, he would not let Saint Fangan's contract live in the world for hundreds of years. The reason why Mephisto is still thinking about him is probably because he feels that he is being plotted against him. This demon lord probably never dreamed of it. One of his own sons would have such an upright person as Wu Shinmo, and he would really believe that Saint Fangan's contract is awesome. If it weren't for the fact that demons have different ways of giving birth, Mephisto would have had to take the inner demon to do a paternity test. I am the Lord of Hell. The devil has plotted against countless smart people. How could he give birth to such a brainless son? I didn't expect to meet the witch-heart demon here. I should say my luck is good or bad. This is probably lower than the probability of winning the lottery. Just when Chu Mu sighed in his heart. At the same time, the bartender, who was overly frightened, tried to climb into the bar door in front of him under the teasing gaze of the evil spirit. I don't know what the bartender was thinking. What's the point of running into a house when you encounter a creature like a demon? The demon won't play hide and seek with you. Perhaps you think that demons, like vampires, cannot enter your house without being invited. No. God, devil, how can there be a devil? The bartender was crawling on the floor, unable to even stand up. It could be seen that he was frightened and his legs were weak, and just when he had just pushed open the wooden door with his head and wanted to climb in. Wow, a sinister wind with a strange smile blew out from inside. This evil wind actually has a face. It penetrated through the strong bartender's body, and in an instant, the strong bartender's cry for help came to an abrupt end. Bartender. But in the blink of an eye, he became a mummy. Before he could even react, he passed away at the speed of light. Cause of death, air drying. The strong bartender's body still maintained the same movements as when he was alive. One hand was raised to push the door open, and he was lying on the ground with his body half propped up. Bang! Just a tiny vibration. The wreckage immediately turned into ashes. And the evil wind that could laugh strangely flew out and transformed into an artistic-looking long-haired man next to the witch-heart demon. Feng Mo, you interrupted my game. The witch-heart demon glared at the long-haired man next to him with dissatisfaction. The long-haired man whom he called Feng Mo quickly lowered his head in awe. I'm just too excited. Feng Mo was slightly nervous. In order to change the subject, he immediately looked at Chu Mu under the eaves and said, but isn't there still a toy alive here? Feng Mo, one of Wu Shenmo's henchmen. At the moment, this demon's eyes were full of weirdness and his tone was joking, as if he was completely convinced of Chu Mu. Jieheji, I just like playing this kind of game. There is actually a guy who laughs like that. The sound came from inside the bar. I saw a man covered in water droplets walking out of the wooden door again. Behind him was another man wearing a leather jacket. A young man with an open chest, holding a woman's withered head in his hand. Look at that head full of blonde hair. She must be the blonde girl who struck up a conversation with Chu Mu before. The originally noisy bar became completely silent at some point. If nothing else, those people drinking and chatting inside must also have had accidents. Earth Demon, Water Demon. With the greeting of the Witch Heart Demon, the identities of the two people were also revealed. They are not real human beings, they are the dog legs of the Witch Heart Demon, just like the Wind Demon. The devil remains in the world. Boy, are you a little regretful. You have lost a wonderful bed partner. The Earth Demon grabbed the withered head and looked at Chu Mu with evil intentions. They were probably in this bar all the time. After hearing the previous exchange between Chu Mu and the blonde woman, he now brought this matter up to break Chu Mu's defenses. The Earth Demon wants to see Chu Mu yelling in disbelief, panic, and out of control. However, Chu Mu felt a little dry after eating the bread and took a sip of the drink. His expression remained calm. Are you talking to me? Chu Mu pretended to be surprised. To be honest, he felt almost no emotion about the death of the blonde woman. She was just a stranger. At most, he just felt sorry for her. The people in the whole bar were also quite pitiful. But it was pitiful, Chu Mu still couldn't force herself to squeeze out a few tears. Maybe just that kind of holy mother. That's why I feel angry when strangers are killed. People die every day in this world. As a media tycoon, Chu Mu has long understood this truth. It's not that he has no conscience, but compared to the overflowing love of those Virgin Marys, Chu Mu's conscience is limited to feeling sorry for the unfortunate. Besides, this world has heaven, hell, and soul. Death does not mean the end. There is no guarantee that others will be happier after death than alive. So cold-blooded, tisk tisk, you look a lot like us. The Water Demon, who was dripping with water, looked at Chu Mu with a strange look. You don't seem afraid of us. Wu Shenmo was also a little surprised and looked at him with a calm expression. He even took out a piece of Chu Mu and gnawed on instant bread. He frowned slightly at first and then showed an interested expression. It had to be said that he was a little curious about this person whose soul was full of delicious flavor. Looking at the appearance of the human in front of him, it seemed as if he had long known or even been accustomed to the existence of demons. Even the surprise was only for a moment. This performance is very wrong. Could he be a human demon hunter? If he didn't have something to rely on in his hand, he wouldn't have reacted so calmly. He should have been as fearful of them as the bartender. The world is cruel, misfortune comes from weakness, fear and fear come from the unknown. Chu Mu ate all the bread in her hand and threw the plastic bag into the trash can. Then, he looked at the demons in front of him again. I'm not the same as them. I'm not weak, and I know your origins clearly. If so, why should you be afraid? Chu Mu's steady voice had a calm tone. Like a philosopher. Clear and organized. That calm posture stunned several demons. It seems that you know a lot of things, but I am a little curious. Wu Shenmo was not in a hurry to take action. He felt that everything was under control. How much do you know about us? It seems to be a calm exchange, but anyone with a discerning eye can see that there is an undercurrent, and these moody demons may take action at any time. Chu Mu took a look at the faith value that he could still maintain as an ancestor for half an hour, and didn't panic. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised by a nice angle. Which, Mephisto's son, I think knowing this is enough. He looked at the three followers of Wook. As for these little shrimps, I'm sorry, were you talking to me just now? Your slightly arrogant attitude made the three follower demons look annoyed. But, because the Witch Heart Demon has no orders, it is difficult for them to take action without permission. If you disturb the game of the Witch Heart Demon, they will not be able to eat and walk around forever. Wu Shenmo's face was not pretty. A bolt of lightning struck behind him, and his face took on the ferocious form of a demon. Don't mention that person's name in front of me. This is obviously a prince of hell who hates Mephisto and doesn't even want to hear his name. I don't know if he has been subjected to domestic violence or something. Your power comes from him, but you told me that you don't want to mention him. Interesting, is this the devil boy's rebellious period? Chu Emu's words almost made Wu Shinmo furious. Get rid of the rebellious period. My patience has run out. You have to pay the price for your sharp teeth, human being. You will understand the serious consequences of irritating me. The witch heart demon's eyes have turned red. He was originally a red-eyed demon, and his previously dark eyes were just a standard feature of all demons. What will happen if I piss you off? I'm looking forward to it. A golden card that only he could see appeared on Chu Emu's palm. Ready to burst at any time. It's not that he wants to be provocative. Rather, when you know that the other party is unlikely to let him go, instead of hoping that a good conversation can avoid the possibility of conflict. It's better to let yourself feel comfortable and speak freely. Inspire to become an ancestor. How could you hold yourself back so panicked? My power may come from him, but I will eventually surpass him. This is the future. The witch heart demon said with a ferocious smile to Chu Mu. It's a pity that you won't be able to see that day, but I allow you to become a part of me and make your contribution to my path to becoming a king. A very special soul fragrance. Wu Shinmo couldn't help but lick his mouth. Really, he never planned to let Chu Mu go, but Chu Mu didn't cooperate with him, and instead angered him, so that he could only enjoy this delicious soul in advance. A soul that has not been influenced by fear may not taste so delicious, which is a pity. In the eyes of Wu Shinmo, Chu Mu is already a meal. I like your confidence. The gold card in Chu Emu's hand turned into bits of golden light and integrated into his body. At the same time, catch him, I will torture him severely, and then enjoy his soul bit by bit. Following the extremely cold command from the witch heart demon, the three demons, who had long been unhappy with Chu Mu, were ready to attack Chu Mu, and each transformed into the elemental form they represented. Water demons, earth demons, and wind demons swept in with great momentum. Facing the attacks of these three demons, Chu Mu just smiled contemptuously. A bunch of little trash. True, things like demons have more or less magical properties. The cards of Homelander are not quite suitable, but it does not mean that there is no way to deal with them. After all, the principle of defeating 10 societies with one force is applicable everywhere. The witch heart demon may be a bit troublesome, but Chu Mu, a few followers, didn't take it seriously at all. I caught you. Suddenly, the ground became muddy. The earth demon arrived first. Chu Emu's feet seemed to be entangled in a swamp. A pair of big hands directly grabbed Chu Emu's ankles, and the earth demon laughed wildly under the ground. I thought you were so capable. The earth demon tried to pull Chu Mu into the earth. Chu Mu, however, bent down directly. He grabbed the hands on his ankles and pulled out the earth demon from the earth with a strong force. How can it be? This development was unexpected by the earth demon. He only felt the ridiculously exaggerated force integrating his body into the earth, pulling him out of the earth like a carrot. What a joke. How could anyone have such terrifying strength? When he integrated into the earth, he was blessed by a large area of earth power. Do you know how ceramics are produced? Chu Mu felt the earth demon in his hands, as if it was about to turn into soil and escape. His eyes lit up, and extremely red rays shot out with terrifying temperature. No, the earth demon was horrified to find that his body was solidifying, cracking, and turning into dust. He wanted to beg for mercy, but all he saw was an indifferent face. No one responded. After a burst of laser baking, he immediately turned into extremely charred ceramic. It can't be said to be ceramic. After all, no ceramic will have a burnt smell. Sorry, I may have overcooked it. Chu Mu threw away the earth demon that had turned into scorched earth, and the remains of the earth demon directly shattered into black debris on the ground. Seeing a companion being so easily dispatched by Chu Mu, both the wind demon and the water demon trembled in their hearts, but they still did not give up their exploits to Chu Mu. You can kill that idiot, but you can't kill me. The wind is invisible. The wind demon swept towards Chu Mu. He was going to let Chu Mu be dried like a bartender, so the wind demon controlled his power and enveloped Chu Mu. Cackle, cluck, cluck. The water demon also attacked at the same time, blending itself into the non-stop rainstorm, and the drops of rain struck Chu Mu like sharp knives. Even if Homelander's body panel was under the combined attack of the two demons, Chu Mu also felt a slight chill on his body. Yes, that's all. It was like blowing a cool breeze carrying small ice cubes. What a stinky fish and rotten shrimp. Chu Mu just felt bored for a while, but with Homelander's power alone, there was really nothing he could do against these two elemental demons. This is the feeling of being powerless. Definitely. Homelander's power feels a bit tricky, but that doesn't mean Chu Mu really can't help it. He doesn't just have Homelander's power. In order to save his faith value, Chu Mu did not plan to continue fighting with the two demons. He directly took out a strange-looking ring. The Ring of Grindelwald. It contains a powerful fire released by the Dark Lord himself. It is a magical creation created by the Dark Lord when he asked his men to perform a certain mission. Hey, it's a waste of my trump card. The ring in Chu Mu's hand gave off a burst of light, and then, the sky-high fire light surged out from it, and the blue flame surged out like a huge wave. Continuous fierce fire surrounded Chu Mu in the center, sweeping around like a whirlpool. The blazing and terrifying flames illuminated the night sky and the rain curtain. In front of the fierce fire that turned into a dragon, even the witch heart demon couldn't help but raise his hand to cover his face. He felt the terror of this flame. Even the Prince of Hell trembled in his heart, let alone the two little shrimps, Wind Demon and Water Demon. They were in the center of the raging fire, feeling that their bodies were burned, their souls were ignited, and their two faces roared in the flames in fear. How is this going? I don't want to die yet. I don't want to go back to hell. The strong winds and torrential rain stopped. When the blue flames subsided, the bars in the forest were all burned down and turned into a scorched earth. As for the Wind Demon and the Rain Demon, they definitely disappeared without a trace, and were all wiped out in this grand flame. Pa bang bang. Half of Wu Shenmo's face has been damaged, but he is recovering quickly. Even though he was far away just now, he was also affected a lot. But, although he was injured, the Witch Heart Demon was not angry. Instead, he clapped his hands and did not feel sad at all for the destruction of his three men. You are so beyond my expectation. No wonder you are not afraid of our appearance at all. The black coat on Wu Shenmo's body is also recovering. I admire you, so I can forgive your rudeness just now. If you can join me, then I will reward you in the new hell. The Witch Heart Demon seemed to want to recruit Chu Mu. The monstrous sea of fire used by Chu Mu just now reminded him of his father's Ghost Rider. They are all playing with fire. But it seems that the fire of this guy in front of him is much cooler than that of Ghost Rider. If he can recruit such a person, Wu Shenmo feels that he can be more powerful than his father on some level. Side of it. Have to say, Wu Shenmo's abacus was very good. Only, he didn't know Chu Mu's method is a one-time use. Moreover, Chu Mu has no intention of being someone else's subordinate, so the evil heart demon has not yet finished speaking. You stepped on the horse and actually cursed me to go to hell. The ground beneath Chu Mu's feet cracked, and his whole body turned into an afterimage, carrying a strong wind and flying directly in front of the Witch Heart Demon. The Witch Heart Demon had no time to react. Will a good person like me go to hell? Chu Mu swung his fist, hitting Wu Shenmo directly and breaking half of his head. The defective body tissue gave off a fishy smell in the air. The devil. It's normal for your body to smell bad if you don't take a shower. Wu Shenmo's head began to recover quickly. He couldn't believe that the guy in front of him actually attacked him, the boss, just because he had a disagreement. However, once again, he had not finished his words, and even his words had just begun, and then, fists like a shower began to hit him continuously. The beaten body of Wu Shenmo continued to explode. He stumbled backwards in extreme embarrassment, his entire body constantly shattering and disintegrating, and dust-like substances exploding in the air like disintegrating ash. Because its own repair speed could not keep up with the speed of Chu Mu's destruction, the Witch Heart Demon let out a hoarse and angry roar. Human, you are seeking death. The broken body of the Witch Heart Demon took on a mist-like form and suddenly covered Chu Mu. The demonic ability from him was activated in an instant. Give me your soul. The Witch Heart Demon can devour the souls of others, pull out the souls of living beings from their bodies and eat them. His atomized body is an attempt to devour Chu Mu's soul. That's it. Chu Mu was originally startled, ready to activate a one-time skill card from the Harry Potter world that could release Tom Riddle to fight the devil dog-eat-dog. As a result, he found that the opponent's menacing attack only made him it just feels a bit pungent. Can this unpleasant smell of sulfur not sting my nose? Just other than that, no more discomfort. This is very anticlimactic. That's all you have, you're just pretending. Chu Mu felt like he was being tricked, and he grabbed most of Wu Shenmo's already defective body and pushed him into the ground. At this time, the fallen Wu Shenmo's head had just been repaired, and the next moment it was stepped on by Chu Mu, who directly ate a mouthful of filthy mud. Your soul, why is this happening? Why does my ability have no effect? Turns out you are God's eagle dog. Even though his head had been stepped on in the mud, Wu Shenmo still didn't forget to say harsh words to Chu Mu after being filled with horror and anger. You think that with God's protection, you can treat the future new master of hell like this? Have to say, what a tough mouth. Wu Shenmo's body is still repairing. Physical damage actually does not cause substantial harm to him. Maybe that's why he's so stubborn. I'm not familiar with God, how dare you arrogantly claim to be the new Lord of Hell? Chu Mu only felt a burst of inexplicable amusement. You will die, I swear, I will eat your soul. When had the witch heart demon been humiliated like this? He was so angry that his face had completely turned into that of a demon, and his roaring roar resounded throughout the surrounding environment. The wind blows. Then let's see who dies in the end. Scarlet rays brewed in Chu Mu's eyes, and they were fired hard at the head of the witch heart demon. There were constant explosions one after another, and Wu Shenmo's head exploded again. This time, it was obvious that his repair speed had slowed down a lot. Although Heat Ray is not a magic attack, it disintegrates the substances that make up the witch's heart demon at the molecular level. One thing to say, the witch inner demon may have been very strong when he was in hell, but it will definitely not be any easier than his father when he comes to the human world. And once the material that supports him in the human world completely disappears, the soul of the witch heart demon will lose its carrier, and the only result will be to be sent back to hell again. This is obviously not what the witch heart demon wants to see. Therefore, after feeling that the material that made up his body was truly reduced, the Prince of Hell finally panicked. He definitely wants to resist, but to be honest, although Wu Shenmo has a high status and strong power, he really doesn't have any special methods. Chu Mu kept pressing and beating him arbitrarily, and he was unable to perform at all. Wait, we can talk, as expected of Mephisto's son. I always want to talk about making a deal or something. It's just a pity that Chu Mu has no interest in doing business with this kind of creature. What can the inner demon give him? It's nothing more than a blank check. Chu Mu has no interest in being a lord in hell. If you have anything to discuss, just call me from below. Chu Mu continued to output, the scarlet eyes of his eyes lighting up the entire wilderness again. You can't do this to me. Most of the witch heart demon's body was in ruins. He struggled to catch Chu Mu's foot on his head with both hands. The power that can corrode everything emerged. Unfortunately, Chu Mu's legs did not become rotten as the witch heart demon imagined. Are you plucking my legs? Chu Mu felt her feet were itchy. Impossible. Your life. How can your vitality be so strong? The witch heart demon roared in disbelief. He could feel that his power was actually working, but the other party had a strong vitality that far exceeded his corrosive power. As soon as the legs were corroded, they returned to their original shape. This kind of vitality, which is even less scientific than the devil, makes the witch heart demon feel extremely incredible. Humanity, how is it possible to have so much ability? It can emit terrifying rays from its eyes, and it can have a body that is more powerful than the angel warriors. Then even the vitality is exaggerated to such an extent. Oh my God, the witch heart demon suddenly felt that the human world was not so interesting anymore. You're talking about this, it's definitely because I'm young. I'm young and energetic, and I naturally have enough vitality. Chu Mu smiled very happily. Coupled with the way he continuously fires rays and explodes the body of the witch heart demon, it is quite arrogant. The ability of his low-end version of Wolverine is still very good. Otherwise, just relying on Homelander's physical fitness, he may not be able to handle this kind of magical ability with ease. Do you know who you can't mess with? Chu Mu looked with satisfaction at Wu Shenmo, who was getting worse and worse. He was curled up on the ground with only half a file size left. He spoke in a gentle tone, and the response given by the witch heart demon was naturally only an extremely hateful look. He knew that he would probably have to go back to hell again. I won't let you go. When I come back again, I will crush you to ashes. The witch heart demon let out an extremely unwilling roar. One thing to say, that's what makes demons so difficult to deal with. Very difficult to kill. Even if you kill the opponent once in the human world, the opponent will still crawl out of hell and cannot truly kill the opponent. Chu Mu currently does not have any abilities that can target souls. Otherwise, he definitely couldn't bear the threat of the witch heart demon. I am waiting for you. Although Chu Mu looked calm, he also secretly vowed in his heart that he must work hard to get some faith points, and then open a few card pools to draw something that can kill the devil. I hate it when people threaten me. Feeling a little aggrieved, Chu Mu increased the ray output. Because the witch heart demon had accepted its fate, it began to become a little calmer in the midst of its demise. Just a pair of blood-red eyes staring at Chu Mu full of hatred. He was already planning in his heart. As long as he got another chance to come to the human world, he would be well prepared to seek revenge on the humans in front of him in order to wash away today's humiliation. Don't die too early, the witch heart demon whispered viciously when only the baby file size was left. He began to completely unravel. The soul begins to sink to hell. Just as the witch heart demon was waiting to return to hell, his expression suddenly became extremely frightened and horrified. No, don't know why. The last trace of dust in the human world formed by the evil spirit demon formed an extremely frightening face. Then, it dissipated completely, and the surrounding area became dead silent again. Why? Chu Mu took off Homelander's card immediately. Because it saved time, it only took him more than 10 minutes to transform this time. There are still more than 50 faith points, enough to transform for another 10 minutes. This consumption is actually nothing. Anyway, a new batch of faith points will be arriving soon. The reason why Chu Mu sighed. The main reason is that I still feel a little uncomfortable because I don't fully understand the inner demon. And at this time, intercepted rechargeable currency, obtained dimension fragments, and started unlimited fishing 3 times, a prompt from the system suddenly appeared. What the hell? Chu Mu was slightly stunned. Currency that can be recharged. Where did it come from? What's the meaning? What is unlimited fishing? Soul asked 4 times. Chu Mu directly transformed into a mixed race question mark face. After so many years of obtaining the system, this was the first time he heard such a prompt. After defeating the witch heart demon, he could actually get special gains. Chu Mu quickly opened his system panel. Host, Chu Mu. Number of free tickets today, 1. Belief, 51. Have card pools. Detective Conan World, Harry Potter World, Black Robe World. Unlimited fishing times, 3. System. There are actually new changes. There is an extra selection bar. Before Chu Mu knew it, it was actually past 12 o'clock in the morning, and new free fishing opportunities had been refreshed, but this time Chu Mu was not in a hurry to use them. He makes an even more exciting discovery than free fishing. After many years, his system panel actually had a special change. It's just an extra stats panel for unlimited fishing. Just like the system prompt just now, the system functions are unlocked or upgraded. Chu Mu quickly checked what unlimited fishing meant. Unlimited fishing. You can fish in all card pools that you own and do not own, and you can get a green rarity harvest with a minimum guarantee. Good guy. Chu Mu shouted directly, good guy. At the moment, he only felt that his heart was completely filled with excitement. Thanks to the big system benefits sent by the old man of Wu Shinmo, Chu Mu instantly felt that not only did he not lose money in this wave, but he should also make a lot of money. I didn't even know there was such a way before. I just defeated a witch's inner demon. It actually gave him 3 opportunities for unlimited fishing. This is an opportunity to fish in a card pool that you don't have to pay to unlock. And you're guaranteed to get the green rarity harvest. Tisk tisk. If there were such system rewards for fighting demons, Chu Mu just wanted to transform into a superhero and look for those demons all over the world to deal with. Why didn't the wind demon, water demon, and earth demon explode dimension fragments for me? Chu Mu still didn't understand many things about his own system. He didn't know how he obtained these 3 unlimited fishing opportunities. I can only think about it. Maybe the witch heart demon's ability to come to the human world has something to do with the rechargeable currency intercepted by the system, or something called dimensional fragments. Otherwise, there is no way to explain why the three little shrimp demons of Feng Shui 2 did not even have limited fishing opportunities. All are demons. It should be more or less explosive. Definitely. It may also be that only the more powerful demons can break out the system's rechargeable currency and obtain similar rewards in the system. Regarding this sudden system reward, Chu Mu couldn't figure out the reason for a while. The main reason was that there were no more cases to refer to. This still needs to be studied in the future. The way to obtain fishing opportunities may not be limited to demons. This requires understanding what dimension fragments are. How could it be intercepted from the Witch Heart demon? Things will happen one after another in Marvel, but there are plenty of opportunities for Chu Mu to slowly experiment. If the Witch Heart demon can contribute 3 full times of unlimited fishing, it is hard to imagine that dimension lords like Dormammu can directly let Chu Mu explode the card pool. Definitely, it is still too early to fantasize about this now. Anyway, with these 3 fishing opportunities, I can become a lot stronger. Chu Mu was already a little eager to try. He didn't know how many card pools the system had included, but he thought about it a lot. He actually got the opportunity to fish in all the card pools 3 times. Just thinking about it makes Chu Mu feel very dreamy. It seemed that God was still kind to him, allowing him to receive such a great gift after being unlucky for a while. It's time to say it or not. Chu Mu is still a little lucky that his system is not completely penguin-like. Otherwise, he would not have been able to get such an opportunity based on penguin urine. No payment is required. How can Penguin allow players to enjoy the content of other card pools? Not to mention that 3 chances are guaranteed. It would be nice if you don't have to collect 5,000 fragments to synthesize an item. Chu Mu looked at the distance and saw that his sports car had turned into a wreck again. He didn't pay attention to it and sat directly in front of the ruins of the bar and opened it. Own fishing status. I saw. As Chu Mu started fishing, a whirlpool appeared in Chu Mu's field of vision. The black hole whirlpool of unlimited fishing was no different from before. It's just that the bait is different. It turned out to be a ball of white light, but now it turned into a ball of gray light. Chu Mu threw the baited fishhook into the black hole. Give me a Doraemon. Definitely, you can also catch a gray wolf. Chu Mu wanted to catch some characters who could lay unlimited eggs. As everyone knows, the characters in the animation are the most unreasonable. Whether it is Doraemon or Big Wolf, Chu Mu can take off on the spot as long as it is fished. Not seeking to dominate Marvel. It will definitely be no problem to dominate Marvel's Earth. Think of Doraemon's props, and Big Wolf's invention ability, which not only doesn't teach science, but even science is trampled on and rubbed under his feet. Chu Mu is really greedy. This is more exciting than catching a genuine Superman. Unlimited fishing means there are infinite possibilities. Wow, under Chu Mu's expectant gaze. Something takes the bait. He quickly pulled up the fishing rod. I saw something green falling into his hand, and this time I just caught a guarantee. Nuclear Integrate Core, one of the last technological crystallizations in a wasteland world. It has a wide range of uses and is mostly used to power armor and large equipment. The ball of light fell into his hand. It turned into a lead-shaped object. All right, it did not meet Chu Mu's expectations, but in fact, as a green item, the harvest this time is pretty good. Is it an energy device from the radioactive wasteland? There are 2 integrate cores that Chu Mu knows about, one from the game world of The Strongest Snail, and one from the wasteland world of the Fallout series. You can actually tell the difference between the 2 just by looking at their appearance. Obviously, the lead-shaped integrated core he now obtained came from the radioactive wasteland. This is a reaction device made using nuclear fusion. It can only convert electrical energy, but whether it is supplying power armor or simply providing power, it can be maintained for a very long period of time. The main reason is that the technology involved is relatively black technology. Not to mention the battery consumption problem caused by the gameplay as a player entering the radiation world. This nuclear integrate core is in the wasteland world, but the world has been doomed for many years, and there is basically no way to recreate it, but it still has not withdrawn from the world stage. It has been used for hundreds of years and can still be used. You can imagine how much energy it contains. A nuclear integrate core can definitely provide Tony Stark with decades of use in his suit. After all, The main technology at the core of nuclear integrate is also nuclear fusion, which is similar to the reactor originally used by Tony, but not as small as that reactor. This thing was brought out when Tony was poisoned by palladium and fell into despair. It is a real killer. He will be happy to crack the technology for me for free. Chu Mu feels that in addition to being a media tycoon, he may also be a media tycoon. Can you become an energy tycoon? Before S.H.I.E.L.D. gave Tony Stark the box, this integrate core would definitely be regarded as a life-saving straw by Tony Stark. Yes, although it has not improved my strength, the technology involved is enough to make me a more influential boss. Chu Mu is very satisfied with this harvest. After putting the integrate core away, he started fishing again. He still had 2 chances, and he didn't know if he could catch something better. Chu Mu prayed and waited. Wow, once again something took the bait. Chu Mu pulled hard. I saw a long-lost color shone on his face, a golden legend. I can't say it's been too long. After all, the character card of Homelander was obtained in the past few days, but the golden legend was caught in the second shot, which really made Chu Mu feel very overjoyed. It's truly unlimited fishing with a guaranteed bottom line. In the past, if you used the ordinary system to get free fishing opportunities, you might not see a golden color for several months or even a year. This is the second shot, tisk tisk, shiny gold. Chu Mu at the moment just felt extremely happy, and once again had a new understanding of her luck. Europe. He is so European. Authentic European. Another golden legendary level light ball. The grade is comparable to the Homelander card, and I don't know which world it comes from. I hope I can draw something from the higher world. In fact, there is a big gap in the golden grades that can be produced in different worlds. Just like the golden items in the world of Detective Conan, and the golden items in the world of Harry Potter, they are naturally impossible to compare with a world like Black Robe. The reason? It is most directly related to the level of the world. The golden luster only represents the harvest and its status and rarity in the world where it was produced. The higher the world limit, the harvest value of the same grade will be greater. If we were to pull out a world like the Great Desolate World, it is very likely that an ordinary white rarity item could be completely comparable to the golden legend of the Harry Potter world. Therefore, since it is unlimited fishing, naturally the higher the world level, the more powerful the harvest will be. Chu Mu thinks that golden items from the prehistoric world are good. Dongwang Bell, Zhu Shan sword and so on. Definitely, this is just a beautiful vision. As for what will happen, it depends on how lucky Chu is. Actually, the golden legend of Warhammer world is not bad. If I just draw the Emperor, I can start the era of human hegemony right there and sweep across all races in the universe. Chu Mu thought with anticipation in her heart while hurriedly pulling on the fishhook. A golden ball of light fell on his hand. It turned out that his daydream did not come true. Even the golden items caught by fishing this time were not any harvest that could directly increase combat power. Such a situation was somewhat beyond Chu Mu's expectation. This golden item is actually just something similar to a blueprint. As a stack of paper worthy of the golden light. The quality of a stack of paper is comparable to Homelander cards. Chu Mu was slightly stunned. He only felt a little disappointed. He thought it would be something as powerful as the Homelander card, but he didn't expect it to be just a stack of paper. Although the paper seemed to be made of a special material, and the words on it actually flowed, it was not the harvest Chu Mu expected. And if this piece of paper comes from some lower world, well, then my happiness will be in vain. Hopefully it's not just high-tech paper technology. Chu Mu unfolded the stack of paper and saw that there were more than just flowing words on it. There are also various pictures showing 3-dimensional shapes that look like some kind of armor, and you can see different sides by sliding your finger. Very magical. This kind of paper can be used as a tablet. I can't describe the specific feeling. The manufacturing process of forced colonization armor. Starting from scratch, step-by-step instructions on how to make strong colonization armor, this is the standard equipment from the Adventure. The introduction of the system also emerged. So that's it. Chu Mu, who was originally feeling a little disappointed, immediately became excited again. Forced breeding armor. How many people have childhood memories? How many people will live in their lifetime? The story of the world of strong breeding armor in Chu-Emu's previous life has always been called the Family Sacrifice Don't Forget to Tell Naiwang series. He is also one of the people who are looking forward to it. One thing to say, compared with Kamen Rider, which everyone loves to watch, Chu-Emu prefers the forced armor. This is a world with an extremely strange worldview. Among them, the strong colonization armor is the absolute protagonist. In this world, cosmic creatures from outer space descend on the Earth. Later generations will call these highly civilized visitors adventors. These adventors come from different galaxies, like an alliance between civilizations. It should belong to the United Nations of that kind of cosmic civilization, right? The purpose of these beings called adventors to the Earth is also very simple. That is, they want to use the Earth to create a group of highly developed intelligence, strong desire to fight, and powerful environmentally adaptable creatures serve as legions of weapons. Hundreds of millions of years ago, the Earth was not suitable for biological survival. These descendants transformed the Earth, and then used their own spaceships as incubators on the Earth to breed various life forms. After a long period of cultivation, modulation, test, remodulation, the descendants have successively created a series of creatures from the Archean to the Mesozoic era. These include dinosaurs that are very large in size and very ferocious in individual combat capabilities, as well as some primitive creatures with a strong desire to fight. But it's a pity. Although these creatures possess extremely high combat effectiveness, they do not have enough intelligence, and ultimately did not satisfy the descendants of advanced civilizations. The descendants chose to destroy these dinosaurs with meteorites. After several simulated meteorite impacts, the rate of biological succession began to accelerate. Large-scale mammals then appeared on the stage of history. The size of mammals was smaller than that of creatures before the Cenozoic era, but they were greatly surpassed in intelligence. Among the many intelligent creatures in the biosphere, the descendants were finally selected. The creature closest to the target specifications, human beings. The strong breeding armor named Cape Model was born on the human body. The mandatory armor is actually the standard equipment of adventors, because the adventors are not a single race, but the cooperation of several alien races. Due to its characteristics, the mandatory armor can be worn by different races. To put it bluntly, it is like a universal space suit thing. But, in fact, it may be more appropriate to describe it as a battle uniform. The forced breeding armor is a kind of biological weapon, which can be regarded as armor similar to that of Kamen Rider. Definitely, the two are definitely not the same thing. Maybe, the force reproducing armor is more similar to the feeling of venom. Well, to a certain extent, it does feel more like venom. It's just that the strong-willed armor doesn't have as strong a will as a living thing like venom. It's more like an organic combination of a group of special cells. It is composed of strong-bred cells as the main material, and the unit G metal that can control its composition. Built together. Cells called strong cells have the ability to proliferate indefinitely, similar to cancer cells and phagocytes. The ability to combine organically with other organisms through capture. The control metal unit G is the core of the entire strong reproductive armor system, controlling the status of the strong reproductive cells through internal data records. Under normal circumstances, hosts that become colonizers can perform the same functions. All have powerful mobility abilities and muscle strength amplification abilities. It is also equipped with an extremely destructive chest particle cannon, a high-frequency blade, a sonic blast, a headlight, and a device that can control gravity to a certain extent. But as mentioned just now, different races will have different effects when worn. In fact, different humans can have different effects. The more handsome you are, the stronger your abilities will be. Well, this is just a metaphysical statement. It should be said that the stronger you are, the stronger you will be. The powerful and destructive weapons possessed by the strong colonization armor will be effective depending on the quality of the individual colonization armor. With my physical fitness, wouldn't it mean that I would take off immediately after putting it on? Chu-Emu's physical fitness is already as good as many Captain America's. Hard to imagine how terrifying it would be under the increase of the strong breeding armor. Not to mention what it would be like to put on the colonial armor when Homelander mode is turned on. It's just a pity that it's not a finished product. I have to start over again to cultivate and manufacture force cells, manufacture unit G metal, and those weapons. Chu Mu held the design drawing in her hand and couldn't help but miss the joy of getting something for nothing. Definitely, this manufacturing design drawing is already very detailed. After all, it is manufactured from scratch, and every step is detailed. Compared with directly obtaining the finished product, Chu Mu can also obtain super technological power from it. Although I couldn't enjoy the unearned happiness. But from a long-term perspective, being able to mass-produce strong colonization armor might be more desirable. Think about it. Tony's Iron Legion is nothing. Chu Mu directly formed a colonial army and defeated Thanos' armies in minutes. The bright future begins with domination of the Earth. Ahem. Homelander pretends to be too much, gets too involved in the drama. Chu Mu quickly gathered his thoughts and did not continue to enjoy it. Have to say, the harvest of the Force-bred armor manufacturing blueprint is definitely a big surprise. Who can refuse to put a layer of biological weapons on themselves? Chu Mu felt that he couldn't refuse. Definitely, it would have to wait until Chu Mu formed a scientific research team and then tinkered with the strong breeding armor to achieve it. It doesn't take long. The design drawings for step-by-step instructions from scratch are very smooth. Catch me a scientific genius. No, a scientific genius, preferably one who is unreasonable. Chu Mu has one last chance to fish without restrictions. He was also full of expectations for this last opportunity. The second shot came out with a gold color. It would be perfect if he got another gold color with the third shot. Chu Mu doesn't expect unrealistic gains from prehistoric, Warhammer and other worlds. He just wants a scientific research genius who is unreasonable and can ignore scientific laws. Chu Mu threw the fishhook. The fishhook sank into the endless black hole of fishing, while Chu Mu was enjoying the happy fishing time and thinking about getting lost in it again. About the same time, thousands of miles away, something closely related to him was happening. The explosive rock songs kept roaring, and outside the noisy motorcycle club, it was still a beautiful night, and the moon was quietly covered by dark clouds. Suddenly, as a black shadow quietly fell to the ground, violent storms appeared without warning, accompanied by constant lightning. The rumbling lightning illuminated the moon-covered night sky and illuminated the old vines and dead trees on the ground. It also illuminated the dark motorcycle club. The Jesus cross hanging on the wall fell to the ground. When it was smashed to pieces, some red substance actually flowed out. I don't know if it's an omen or some kind of unexplainable supernatural event. There is a saying that thunder at night is a warning from God, which means that the world demons appeared, and thunder and lightning were God's deterrent to the demons. How? This statement does make sense, but in fact it is not worth scrutinizing at all. If God really does this, how can the devil dare to be arrogant in the world? What happened? There is only one person left in the motorcycle club today, Johnny Cage. No, that's Johnny Blazer, a very top motorcycle stunt rider. Because there is a performance tomorrow. He stayed in his club, preparing to spend the sleepless night alone. 0. Yes, Johnny thought of his first girlfriend, and felt sad. He was borrowing wine to get drunk, but he was startled by the sound of decorations falling to the ground. He was just going to get a broom and clean it up. Johnny. Suddenly, a voice called out. It was the voice that Johnny would never forget, the voice of the devil with whom he had made a deal in order to save his adoptive father from cancer. Guy, you lied to me. You lied to me in the first place. How dare you come to me? Johnny was startled at first. Immediately, being overwhelmed by anger and hatred, he picked up a car repair wrench and saw the black figure standing at the gate at the moment with eyes full of anger. The black figure did not retreat. Instead, walking out of the darkness was an old man with gray hair but a straight body without any stoop. He was holding a crystal-carved skull cane in his hand, which looked noble and full of majesty that only a superior person possesses. It's you who keeps me alive and makes me live in guilt and regret, you devil who emerged from hell. Johnny looked angry and threw the wrench in his hand. However, just when it was about to hit the old man, the wrench turned into molten metal all over the floor. No, Johnny, everything depends on you. You are the best. You know, I have always been your biggest fan. The old man approached slowly. Newspapers, film and television posters, so many voices, all the time shouting, Johnny, Johnny. I feel so proud when I see all this. The old man walked to Johnny. Johnny wanted to move, but found that he couldn't control his body. He could only see the old man gently leaning against his ear. "You are my most satisfying investment." Lightning flashed across, and behind the old man's wrinkled face, a ferocious devil's face emerged. "So, now it's time for you to fulfill your agreement." There was fire burning in his eyes, which was the real source of hell. "My son is dead, so completely, it's like he never existed." Mephisto's voice was filled with extreme anger. "I want you to find the person who killed my son and bring him to see him." Mephisto looked at Johnny, who was resisting, and said in a very cold voice, "You have no right to refuse me. You signed the contract. Remember, that is the most beautiful thing. I will definitely give you some small incentives." Mephisto put his hand on Johnny's shoulder. "Find that person and bring him to me. I will give you freedom and give you your soul." As Mephisto finished his words, Johnny, a stunt motorcycle rider, felt hot all over his body. His brain began to feel dizzy, and his throat, nostrils, and chest were all as hot as if they were on fire. No, it's not like it's on fire. It was really on fire. Little sparks began to appear on Johnny's skin, and the sparks continued to spread on his face, eventually burning all the flesh. "Ah!" Johnny held his head and screamed in pain. Ghost Rider, the once powerful angel at God's side, now a vengeful evil spirit burned by the fire of anger, appeared at the door. Ghost Rider has many origins. But anyone who is familiar with Marvel should know that Johnny Blaze, as the first Ghost Rider, is obviously the most special guy among all Ghost Riders. Some Ghost Rider powers even come from heaven. It is unknown which god gave the power to the human world. Yes, I don't know which god is different from the DC universe where God is supreme. There are countless powerful beings in the Marvel universe who claim to be gods. They also all have their own heaven and angel. I have to say, this is also the reason why Chumu complained about Marvel's God not doing anything before. Definitely, although the number of God is messy. But the power of these gods is not weak, and the most powerful ones are even comparable to the 5 gods. The weakest one probably has a level god father comparable to Odin. After all, there is an Earth in the Marvel universe, and the gods that humans believe in are all set by God the Father. On the line that Ghost Rider originated from God, God created Adam and Eve, and then the 2 original people, who can be called brother and sister or father and daughter, tasted the forbidden fruit and gave birth to humans, resulting in inbreeding. Human beings have many imperfections. Just like human greed. It is precisely because of this God decided to punish mankind. So he launched the Noah's Ark incident that year. Some people who realized their mistakes were lucky enough to survive this disaster. They hitched a ride on Noah's Ark. Seeing that this group of humans escaped punishment, the God who brought punishment was immediately angry, and he sent his own angel to punish those humans. One angel comes down to earth. But they were bewitched by Mephisto, who told these angels that God had abandoned them, so these angels degenerated into a group of vengeful spirits. They lost their ability to redeem and were left with only punishment and judgment. 767. Signed an agreement with Mephisto to become Hell's Ghost Trooper. This is probably the most well-known origin of Ghost Rider, but others such as Legacy of Atlantis and an artifact called the Citation of Power can also create Ghost Rider. During the time when the elemental Lord Zathanos was wreaking havoc on the human world, the Metal of Strength, a tool created before the fall of the Atlantis Empire, gave humans at that time supernatural power to protect them. You can tell. There are many ways to make Ghost Rider, which should be regarded as a high-dimensional technology. Each Ghost Rider basically has similar abilities. They have the Eye of Judgment that can make the target feel the pain caused by their own sins, and they have the control of Hellfire that can burn matter and soul. And Ghost Riders can also demonize their vehicles and weapons as if they are immortal, causing headaches for their enemies. In addition to these Ghost Riders' signature abilities, Ghost Riders in different forms, under the different influence of mimetic form, often have some abilities and additional powers that are different from other counterparts. For example, the Chinese Ghost Rider Nima's 3 Eyes of Judgment are called Thousand Buddha's Glares. The Black Ghost Rider Caleb during the Civil War can summon Vulture and bring evil people into the spirit world. As for Johnny Blaze, the reason why he is the most special one is that Mephisto attaches great importance to the vengeful spirit in him. There are rumors. The evil spirit in Johnny Blaze's body is the angel closest to a certain god. There are also rumors that the evil spirit in Johnny Blaze's body is the original elemental demon Zatannos. No matter which statement is true, it is enough to show that Johnny is extraordinary and has more power than other Ghost Riders. Roar! Johnny transforms into the ferocious Ghost Rider. He first opened his hands and looked up to the sky and roared, then looked at Stowe with eyes burning with soul fire. At the moment, Johnny in Ghost Rider state still has hatred for Mephisto. But the leader is the spirit of vengeance in Johnny. Therefore, this kind of hatred will not be imposed on Mephisto. It has to be said that the symbiotic relationship between Johnny and the spirit of vengeance is somewhat complicated. Many people may not know this. That is, after transforming into Ghost Rider, Johnny will not be completely controlled by Ghost Rider, but he will be in a confused state. When he was in good condition, Johnny could dominate, but when he was in bad condition, the one who controlled his body was the eternally angry vengeful spirit in his body. This is why Johnny's first love, when he hugged Ghost Rider, would not be rewarded with the eye of judgment by the evil spirit who had been single for who knows how many thousands of years. Definitely. For example, now that Johnny has transformed into Ghost Rider for the first time, he has not yet adapted to the pain of transformation, and his own will has fallen into chaos. The body is naturally dominated by the spirit of vengeance within it. Do not disappoint me. Mephisto said this to Johnny. It is also against the spirit of revenge that coexists with Johnny. His figure gradually retreats into the darkness again. Tutu. The roar of the motorcycle engine sounded. Ghost Rider stepped onto his beloved tank, holding the front with both hands, and the flames on his body spread to the Harley motorcycle. Suddenly, the metal begins to dissolve and change, as if it is transformed into another substance. The entire Harley-Davidson motorcycle has turned into an extremely cool evil chariot. Boom, boom, boom. With the roar of the chariot, the Ghost Rider went away, leaving only a trail of burning flames. The Ghost Rider was particularly impressive in the dark night. Dare to take action against my child, which has challenged my authority. In situ, Mephisto, hidden in the dark shadows, watched Ghost Rider go away. The expression on his face became sinister. Although he looked down upon Wu Shinmo's son, didn't care about him, and even played tricks on him, it didn't mean that he didn't love his son. The love that demons have for their offspring is naturally different from that of humans. Moreover, the act of completely annihilating the witch heart demon was also a serious provocation to Mephisto's majesty. In the midst of hell, what is most important? Definitely the cards. A guy appeared in the world who dared not give Mephisto face, and directly wiped out the roots of Mephisto's son without leaving any soul fragments. Odin, an ancient one, would not dare to treat a descendant of a hell lord like this. Basically, they also adhere to the concept of repatriation. Therefore, such a desperate situation occurred. Naturally, this will make Mephisto very weak. If he cannot punish the opponent, his status in hell will be lost. To know, Mephisto is not the only lord of hell. If he is treated as a joke by other lords, how can Mephisto survive in hell? Because of this, originally, the search for Johnny was to capture his useless son. Now, it's just Mephisto who needs Johnny to avenge his son. Have no idea. As the Lord of Hell, Mephisto's power cannot be shown in the human world at all, so he can only send out his own eagle dogs. He feels that they are strong enough to complete the tasks he assigned. But the strongest Ghost Rider in his hand. Coming from that place, rather than saying that Mephisto has absolute confidence in Johnny, it is better to say that Mephisto has confidence in the vengeful spirit in Johnny that comes from nowhere. No matter who it is, when he falls into my hands, I will let him know what cruelty is. Mephisto was too angry. His face also took on the appearance of a demon's face. Bright thunder and lightning flashed across the sky again, and the demon's figure disappeared. The burning traces left by the Ghost Rider have not disappeared. The flames attached to the tire tracks extend all the way from the suburbs of New York into the distance. Under the dark night, the Ghost Rider drove the chariot at a speed far exceeding any motorcycle in the world. It was so fast that countless road signs exploded along the way. He came to the area near New York, and a traffic policeman who originally wanted to make money by arresting young people who were speeding and taking drugs in the suburbs. What a coincidence that I happened to run into this scene. The flaming skull, riding on the same flaming motorcycle, swooped past him at an extremely exaggerated speed. Pa! The speed measuring device in the hands of the traffic police exploded. However, the traffic policeman, who was already frightened, did not notice that his hands were covered in blood from the debris explosion. God, you will never believe what I saw. It took him a long time to come to his senses and swallowed hard. Could it be that I saw two men in the wild? Hey hey hey. A traffic police colleague said in a humorous tone on the intercom channel. Skeleton. Skeleton on fire. I must not have woken up. Otherwise it would have been a ghost. The traffic policeman who saw Ghost Rider screamed loudly. However, his words were not believed by his colleagues. Also, no normal person would believe such a thing, several police officers whispered in the communication channel. Ha ha ha, Richard must have dozed off at work and had a dream. An older policeman did not hide his ridicule. That's right, how could a skeleton catch fire? Third-rate movies wouldn't make something like this. What is that? A policeman originally wanted to agree, but before he could say anything, he saw a figure in the distance. A blazing flame. Getting closer, a flaming skull. Really, riding on a burning car. This traffic policeman also encountered Ghost Rider, but his luck was obviously not as good as that of the traffic policeman just now. Ghost Rider had already rushed over. Who would have thought that he would actually go around in a circle and come back, get out of the car and walk towards the scared policeman? You, don't come here. You monster. The policeman directly took out his gun and emptied the magazine with a very skillful technique. It's just a shame. Ghost Rider will not be as fragile as those black men. Even the skill of emptying the magazine will not affect Ghost Rider at all. The bullet hit Ghost Rider's body and penetrated Johnny's $200 jacket. But it never left any trace or harm on Ghost Rider. Look into my eyes. Ghost Rider walked directly in front of the policeman, grabbed the policeman's head, and forced the policeman in front of him to look at him. You are guilty. A low hoarse voice fell. From the police's perspective, Ghost Rider's empty burning eyes. It was as if flames were rising that enveloped every inch of his body. Exist. In the circle of fire, all the sins he had committed in his life emerged. It became the fuel that ignited his soul. Helping to abduct children, assisting in selling laundry detergent, forcing minors to sleep with him, yes, this is included among the crimes. The policeman is a male. The evil deeds he committed even included killing a neighbor's dog with a sack when he was a child. Ghost Rider's eye of judgment is so unreasonable. Even the smallest things will become fuel that ignites the soul under Ghost Rider's eye of judgment. Not surprisingly, the policeman's soul was burned to the core. When Ghost Rider released his grip on the policeman's head, the policeman's already cold body fell to the ground. Not only was there no sound, the empty eyes of his corpse looked as if they had been burned. With a little spark that has not been completely extinguished. The eyes are the gateway to the heart and soul, it's true. Boom. Ghost Rider casually killed a heinous person and was very satisfied. The ignited soul of the sinner naturally became his food. Trapped in a human body for so many years. He has been hungry for a long time, very hungry, very hungry. A sinful soul is still not enough for him. Definitely. Filled my stomach a little. Ghost Rider still hasn't forgotten his mission, to find the murderer who killed the witch heart demon, and then bring the murderer to Mephisto. The fast chariot sped all the way into New York. Although it was already night, it still caused quite a sensation. Many of the night owls at night saw him, a flaming skeleton driving a flaming Harley. Cool. Those non-mainstream people who worship darkness were so nervous that they even whistled at the Ghost Rider, which was completely different from the normal people who were frightened and screamed. Ghost Rider ignored these people and continued to walk through the city. I don't care at all whether I will directly appear in the hot search tomorrow. Someone tell me why Superman and the extremist experimental subjects were not over before another thing was drilled into me. Nick Fury was working overtime and had just finished some work on 1.7 and was about to go to bed when he saw the monitoring alarm at the SHIELD headquarters. It was a flaming skeleton, swaggering around New York City. What is this? An evil spirit, a devil, a monster from a fairy tale. After Nick Fury looked at the surveillance camera, his expression was extremely uncomfortable. If he wasn't already dark enough and his face couldn't get any darker, he would have to transform into an African chief on the spot. No way. Sad, unscientific monsters have appeared. Nick Fu Rui just felt that he was a loser and wanted to quit the business directly. Be a little director. All the greedy money was used to build a safe house, and I didn't dare to spend a penny. I worked so hard, but in the end I always encountered such troublesome things. Whoever likes to do it. Nick Fury felt extremely aggrieved. Is his agent useful in dealing with this kind of thing? He just felt that thousands of words were turned into one sentence that he couldn't help but complain about. Maha fake man is born. Oh, no, can't you just calm down a little bit? After finally working overtime until 3 in the morning, he could have a glimpse of the scenery of New York at 3 in the morning. Hill agent, the dedicated newspaper secretary, just wanted to go back and have a good sleep. However, on the way home, she saw it. She saw this unrealistic scene. The first thought that came to the mind of this highly professional agent was actually not this. How much trouble will it bring to S.H.I.E.L.D. if such a monster appears in the city? But, I can't sleep again today. Have to say, working overtime is a scary thing. It can actually make an agent gradually forget his job. As a capitalist boss who exploits ability horribly, Shimu didn't know that he was about to be in trouble. At the moment, just caught my third fishing catch. Ghost Rider traveled through the city in full view of everyone, destroying hundreds of millions of urban facilities along the way. Everywhere he passed, there would be lights and cars exploding. Don't ask why, just ask about the knight's cards. As a bully-faced civil servant from hell, how can he not have some cards? This evil spirit who was ordered by Mephisto traveled over the mountains and ridges and went straight to chew on the road from New York to Los Angeles. Mew. Have to say, my nose is pretty sharp. This journey over mountains and rivers will only find your persistence. If he were a girl, it would still be quite touching. It's coming. This is definitely not the arrival of Ghost Rider. After all, Ghost Rider cannot fly and cannot cross thousands of kilometers so quickly. The one who exclaimed loudly was indeed Chu Mu. However, the reason why Chu Mu exclaimed was because he had waited for a long time and finally waited for the harvest. The fish float sinks. Chu Mu, who had never waited for such a long time, was almost impatient to wait in a wilderness that had been ruined before. It's been such a long time. If I don't pay attention to a big seller, I'm sorry for waiting. Chu Mu, who was already a little sleepy, became confused again. As soon as he pulled the fishing rod, he saw a ball of red light that was pulled directly out of the black hole pool. Red. Chu Mu was still chanting prayers like, golden, golden, and golden, in her heart. However, I never expected that a red ball of light would be pulled up. One thing to say, when he saw this color, Chu Mu was confused. He has been a fisherman in Kachi for 18 years and has never encountered such a situation. White, green, blue, purple, gold. These are the 5 levels that Chu Mu originally thought, and he feels that any harvest from the card pool should follow this order. Until now, Chu Mu saw a color that he had never seen before. Red. How many years has it been? It was the first time I encountered a red card in the card pool. This is obviously also a systematic grade differentiation, but Chu Mu has never caught this color before, so he thinks there are only 5 grades. It seems now, there are clearly 6 types. The 6th one is red. It only comes out once every 18 years. It was only after I came across an opportunity like unlimited 16 fishing with the blessing of high-quality fishing that I caught it. Such rarity. Have to say, Chu Mu couldn't help but feel excited. As everyone knows, the higher the level of something, the harder it is to get it when playing card-drawing games. Judging from the fact that I have been a fisherman for 18 years, I have only fallen into such a difficult level once. Be good. Isn't this a higher level harvest than gold? Chu Mu admitted that at this second, his heart was pounding. It was beating like an electric motor, bang 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 bang. Chu Mu stopped guessing in his mind. He really couldn't wait. As long as you see the actual harvest, you will know whether the red quality harvest is higher level than the gold quality harvest. Brush. The red ball of light fell into Chu Mu's hands and began to appear. Good guy, this is actually a harvest that cannot be held with one hand. Not only could it be held with one hand, but Chu Mu felt that it would be impossible to hold it with both hands. After the light ball changed, it turned into a metal door. All pure white, exuding a dazzling golden luster, The dazzling golden color emanated from the door that was more than 10 meters high and 5 meters wide, spreading hazily towards the surroundings. Items of red quality actually emit golden light, tisk tisk. Chu Mu couldn't help complaining, but he still watched his harvest this time carefully. I drew a red ball of light for the first time in my life, and it looked really extraordinary. The metal door has a white metal texture, but it exudes an extremely sacred golden color, with a heavy air of majesty and holiness. Light. The dark clouds broke through the heaven and earth. It illuminated the entire sky and dispelled all darkness. The night was no longer black at this moment, and the surrounding area for several kilometers was even brighter than the daytime. With a unique and warm light shining all around, a brisk and gentle song began to sound between heaven and earth. It seems to bless all things. Heaven's Gate. This is a door to heaven, connecting to a higher dimension of space. The introduction to the system is short. But just like the more ruthless people talk less, even though it is just such a brief introduction, the amount of information revealed in it is extremely huge. Although I don't know which world it comes from. But a world with a paradise must be of a high level, and this harvest is the door to paradise. Definitely. Or is it possible that the gate of a certain paradise has been directly demolished? After all, heaven and the human world are originally connected, and you need to pass through a place to go back and forth. Anyway, Heaven's Gate, Chu Mu exclaimed. He just looked at the name. It is enough to clearly understand how extraordinary this item is. Things that can be related to heaven and hell are not simple things. Not to mention having the power to directly connect to heaven. Very good, very powerful, worthy of the red quality. Chu Mu approached the giant gate and could see many mysterious patterns carved on it. Some lines are linked together and look like pictures. Angels and devils are all contained in them. It's not just that. Chu Mu also saw a line with a majestic air. Runes that seem to be blessed with some special power are engraved on the door frame of this door. It is said to be runes, but it is actually a kind of text. Enochian language. Chu Mu originally did not actually recognize the 10 languages that belong exclusively to envoys. Only, as the owner of this door to heaven, he naturally gained the ability to master the Enochian language by lightly touching the door of heaven. Therefore, I could actually recognize the Enochian words carved on the door. When I saw the lamb opening the first of the 7 seals, I heard one of the 4 living creatures rejoicing. Thunder said, "Come." Then I looked and saw a white horse, and the man who sat on the horse had a bow, and a crown was given to him. Then he came out, victorious and victorious. When he opened the 2nd seal, I heard the 2nd living creature say, "Come." Then another horse came out, a red one, and authority was given to the one who sat on it to take away peace from the earth, so that people might have mutual affection for one another. Kill him, and a big sword is given to him. When he opened the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd living creature say, "Come." Then I looked, and behold a black horse, and the man who sat on the horse had a scale in his hand. When I opened the 4th seal, I heard the 4th living creature say, "Come." So I looked and saw a gray horse. The one who rides on the horse is named Death. Hades followed him. There is authority given to them. You can kill a quarter of the people on the earth with sword, famine, death, beast. After the 5 seals, when the 6th seal was opened, I saw a great earthquake, the sun turned black like a cloth of hair, and the moon became full. It turned red like blood, and the stars in the sky fell to the ground. Chu Mu slowly looked at the words on the door in front of her and recognized the words in Enochian language. These words were actually the last book of the Bible. It is also the most important volume. With the content of this volume, the Bible is complete, rather than having a beginning and an end. This volume is also the most cruel volume. It's called Revelation. It's God's plan. It is said that God will destroy the world according to the contents of this scroll, and then dispel the eternal darkness according to the contents of this scroll, so that the darkness will disperse and the stars will appear. By that time, the sun will never set, the world will be dark, and the light of the Lamb will shine forever. This is the apocalypse of risking death and living again. Use catastrophes to destroy all the stubborn people in the world, and then establish a utopian kingdom on earth, allowing those repentant lambs to enter it. Enjoy eternal peace and happiness. It seems like a very beautiful description, but some people may think it is too cruel and requires the sacrifice of most people in the world. Definitely, no matter what people argue, each of them must have their own truth, but these arguments are actually meaningless. Why? Because the truth of Revelation is very absurd. Revelation is the last chapter of the Bible. B. But it can also be seen as a forgery. After the so-called God left, the angels used the little power left by him to forge the so-called final chapter. As for the purpose, the emergence of the book of Revelation can make the kingdom of angels, which has been low-key because of God's departure, become high-profile again. It's like a manifesto to make the free country great again. Revelation. It's because the teachers the angels have found for themselves are famous. They can use this to really treat humans as lambs, mocking humans with indifference and arrogance. If what I understand is correct, then why can such a forged final chapter appear on the gate of heaven? Angels put on a show and carved this apocalypse on the door of their house. Chu Mu couldn't help feeling a little confused. He would never suspect that the products produced by the system were fake. Therefore, we can only suspect that the group of angels behind the door may be too involved in the drama. I won't cause the end of the world because of this. Chu Mu's hand shrinking when he touched the door of heaven, and his originally joyful mood suddenly became a little cold. How to say? Gate of heaven is very good, very powerful, very high-end, and sounds like a powerful thing at first glance, but what effect does it actually have on Chu Mu? In and out of heaven. It seems to be a very great authority. However, if the gate of heaven is related to the book of Revelation, Chu Mu would not dare to open it casually. He opened the door. What if a group of angels were released who had been planning for a long time and were waiting for such an opportunity to kill Angel? By then, the world will probably be like a purgatory. I don't know if Homelander can defeat Angel. Chu Mu didn't think about or struggle with this issue for too long. Because even if Homelander's power can defeat Angel, facing the Angel army, even if Chu Mu sincerely wants to be a hero who saves the world, it is estimated that it will be difficult to save other humans. He will be tantamount to becoming the culprit of the war of annihilation. Although it is said that the lives fished out of the system will be stamped with the ideological seal of absolute loyalty to Chu, it must be the life Chu Mu draws out. Chu Mu didn't dare to gamble. When a door is drawn out, does it bring with it all the lives behind the door? After all, when I drew gin, vodka and Belmont, the reason why all three of them had thought stamps was because the description of the car that was drawn listed the passengers in it. But look at this gate of heaven. I just said this is a door leading to heaven. Door, as for if there is an angel left inside, or there is even a God, who owns these lives, it is really unclear. This kind of situation. Chu Mu has never encountered it either. So, I was happy for a long time, but actually the thing I pulled out was useless. Chu Mu didn't know whether he should cry or laugh for a moment. Oh, it's not that there is no gain at all. You have become proficient in a foreign language for free, right? Enochian is a language that many human beings do not even have the qualifications to learn. It's not just that you don't have the qualifications to study. This kind of language, combined with different tones, can even exert different effects on the people who hear it. In anger, human beings bleed to death from their 7 orifices. Gentle, human beings will feel Mu Chingching's embrace. Anyway, it's a very magical language. However, compare these effects on ordinary humans. It's just that such a language gain is obviously not worthy of the quality of red. Hey, I don't know if I can get some money back by selling scrap metal. Chu Mu knocked on the door, a little curious about the material of the door. Dong dong. Chu Mu heard a dull sound, just like knocking on those big iron blocks. He was a little disappointed. He guessed that the door might have too many special effects. Dong dong. Suddenly, Chu Mu was shocked. He did not knock a second time, but the giant door of heaven rang a second time. Obviously, the knocking sound was caused by a ghost. Or, dong dong, here we go again. This time Chu is sure. The knock was from the other side of the door. It was even duller than when he knocked on it by himself, and it actually came with feedback. Could it be that this knock on the door was a response to Chu Mu's response just now? The thought just clicked. Immediately, Chu Mu's conjecture was verified. Are you there? There was a sound. Chu Mu almost jumped up in shock. Also, since there was a knock on the door in response to him, there should naturally be someone on the other side of the door. Wrong. Maybe it shouldn't be a human being. Chu Mu thought of her previous guess based on the apocalypse on the door and, suddenly felt shuddering. The response was so fast. As soon as I knocked, the other person gave me feedback. Could it be that there was an angel waiting for the door to open? Picture. It's so much like this. It was also the first time for Chu-Mu to encounter this situation. He immediately increased his vigilance and did not respond. He just waited quietly for a while. Are you there? The voice on the other side was still persistent, sounding a little childish, like the voice of a little girl, with a strong sense of expectation. Looking forward to coming to destroy the world, right? Hiss, are all the little angels in heaven so radical? Chu-Mu seems to have identified what the angel behind the gate of heaven is. Is anyone here? Can you please open the door? The little girl's voice sounded again, with a hint of disappointment and a bit of hope. It sounds like you're trapped in a closet. Okay, open the door for me. The little girl's voice didn't know if she could perceive Chu-Mu on this side of the door. She persevered and persisted. Chu-Mu still hasn't finished speaking. He is a little worried now and doesn't know how to deal with this door. You can't just leave it here like this. Putting aside what kind of commotion it might cause, the Marvel world is full of wonders. What if someone finds a way to open the door and let out the angel inside? Just when Chu-Mu felt a little bit in trouble, Gate of Heaven was produced by the system, and it seemed to sense Chu-Mu's difficulties. I saw. Suddenly, the entire door began to shrink rapidly, and finally turned into a stream of light, flying to the back of Chu-Mu's right hand, forming a golden tattoo. How can it still be like this? Chu-Mu was a little surprised. It didn't take long for him to be happy. No, please open the door. Depend on. Can he still make a sound in this state? Chu-Mu could feel the back of his hand trembling slightly. It must be that the other side was still knocking on the door. Chu-Mu's mood at the moment was very complicated. How to describe it? Maybe it's the same as those who like fishing feel when they thought they had caught a big fish, but in the end they caught a nationally protected animal. Precious is precious, but this thing is simply a big problem that can only be seen but not used. The troubles at Heaven's Gate are much bigger than those of special protected animals. Please, open the door, that sounded like a plea from behind the door, even though it was the voice of a little girl, but Chu-Mu felt more and more that it came from the temptation of the evil angel. Don't think that pretending to be a little girl will make him soft-hearted. A little girl who sells nuclear bombs will definitely not do it until she understands which world this Gate of Heaven comes from and why the apocalypse is engraved on the gate. Let the little girl come out to sell nuclear bombs. After all, it is a harvest of red quality. Maybe even if I don't open its door, it can still bring me some special power. Chu-Mu comforted herself. He still doesn't know if there is anything unusual about the door that turned into a tattoo. But after all, you can still look forward to it a little bit. Red quality. Unprecedented quality. It would be too tragic if it could only be used as a cool tattoo. Definitely, all I can do now is choose to ignore the vibration in my hands. Fortunately, this kind of vibration is only a relatively slight one, and it will not affect Chu-Mu's daily life. I don't know if I could sense Chu-Mu's determination or if I was a little tired from knocking on the door. After a while, the back of Chu-Mu's hand no longer felt the tremor. The little girl's voice lingering in her ears also disappeared, which made Chu-Mu feel slightly relieved. Fortunately, it's not the kind of person who keeps making noises 24 hours a day. If he keeps vibrating without stopping for 24 hours, I'm afraid Chu-Mu will replace Kato Taka as the new generation's successor. Ahem. Simple people will not understand what this means. 3 times of fishing, none of them directly improved my strength. I don't know whether to say that I am unlucky or that I am just too unlucky. In short, it is definitely not the lucky kind. 3 times of unlimited fishing have been used up. To be honest, this last time was the highest quality one. But in fact, it didn't bring much improvement to Chu-Mu. He really feels a little unsatisfied with this fishing method that has a high probability of producing good fish. Fishing guys all like the kind of pool that produces big fish. By the way, I still have free fishing today. After fishing like that unlimited fishing, looking back, free fishing is not that good anymore. Chu-Mu looked at the number of fishing trips he had refreshed today. Definitely, just saying that doesn't mean that he will let go of this fishing opportunity. Anyway, the car had been destroyed, and he couldn't go back to New York for a while, so Chu Mu simply walked and threw the free bait into the card pool of the Black Robe Picket world. Yes, you can fish while walking. The way you want to fish depends entirely on Chu Mu's own will. The reason why he has never fished like this before is mainly because the posture of fishing while walking is too weird, and it is inevitable that he will being treated like a mental patient. But in a deserted place like today, there is no such concern. Walk along the road in the wilderness toward New York. Chu Mu patiently waited for the bait to take the bait, but this time he did not wait too long for sleeping fishing. Whoosh! As the fish floated down, Chu Mu immediately pulled the pole. I saw a purple ball of light flying out of the card pool and falling into Chu Mu's hands. Is this God's compensation? Chu Mu's mood immediately improved a lot. He could see whether the red quality harvest could be used, but it made him feel depressed for a while. But it would be nice to have a purple quality harvest as compensation. After the purple light ball fell into Chu Mu's hands, it turned into a test kit. It's the kind of kit that can be plugged into rows of reagents, with 3 or 4 columns. The kit Chu Mu caught was also filled with blue reagents. Metallic bottle cap, transparent and sturdy bottle body. The blue liquid inside appears to be deeper than the sea, with a hint of cool color. Stable compound number 5. A secret weapon from Walter Company. After injection, you will 100% gain physical fitness and super ability far beyond ordinary people. Good guy. This is the most valuable thing in the world of Black Robe Pickets. Compound number 5. It can increase a person's physical fitness at least dozens of times, and can also stimulate certain special abilities hidden in human genes. Definitely, it's not without side effects. After injecting compound number 5, these benefits will indeed occur, but many people cannot adapt to this genetic enhancement and die. Moreover, after the number 5 compound is injected and becomes stronger, it will also cause mental disorder in the user, causing some users to behave abnormally, and randomly shortening the user's lifespan, but these situations also vary from person to person. It is said that injections are safest in children, but that does not mean that injections are absolutely impossible for adults. Chu Mu has always wanted to obtain this black technology, but compared to the simple finished reagent, Chu Mu wants the formula of compound number 5 more. After all, as long as you get the formula and find the corresponding materials, you can mass produce it. You can have as many number 5 compounds as you want. Unlike the finished product, one bottle is used and one bottle is lost. Definitely, the finished product dropped by Chu Mu is indeed very precious. Looking at the description of this fishing harvest, what was caught was not the potentially dangerous number 5 compound. But at some point in time, the technology was almost perfect for compound No. 5. The system says that the strengthening effect is 100% achieved. This definitely increased the value of compound number 5 by an unknown number of times. It will also help Chu Mu establish a laboratory to conduct reverse research on the science and technology contained in these reagents, and the researched compounds will no longer be unstable compound number 5. But, compare to getting the recipe directly. The value of stabilizing compound number 5 is still a little off. The main thing is that, reverse engineering in the Marvel Universe is absolutely difficult as hell. You still have to have some hope. Anyway, because I want to develop strong breeding armor, I need a biotechnology experimental base. It would be good to study these number 5 compounds again. If it doesn't succeed, it will just be a waste of money. If it succeeds, I will directly switch to starting a superhero company. Without the high probability of sudden death, the value of this stable number 5 compound is definitely much greater than the original number 5 compound. In general, Chu Mu is actually quite satisfied with this harvest. Each bottle of this pile of number 5 compound seems to have as much dosage as half a bottle of Coca-Cola. The total number of 70 bottles is also very objective. In addition to being used for reverse research, you can also take out a few bottles for your loyal wage earners. After all, it is stabilizing and strengthening. There is no need to worry that his subordinates will die suddenly. Gin, vodka, Belmod, it's time for you to get an epic enhancement. Don't ever say that God won't take care of you in the future. Chu Mu thought in her heart. I don't know what kind of super abilities they can give birth to. Chu Mu is quite willing to treat his die-hard younger brothers. Under the seal of his thoughts, he doesn't have to worry about the 3 people becoming stronger and having different intentions. Therefore, after Chu Mu decided to return to New York, he ordered his subordinates to gather together, and then injected each of them with number 5 compound. As for myself, Chu Mu was somewhat resistant to injecting this strengthening agent. It's not like this is the only way for him to gain power. The power directly caught by the system is the most perfect. Chu Mu does not want to affect his future development by injecting number 5 compound. Poor competition relies on mutation, and competition relies on systems. He casually threw the number 5 compound into the small wallet blessed by the invisible stretch spell, and put it together with the blueprints and the integrate core that he had drawn before. This little wallet, in fact, it was Chu Mu's previous harvest and she always carried it with her. The reason why he can always take out a big treasure at once is because of this wallet. Just like the one called Heaven's Gate, I don't know what kind of magic is cast on this small wallet, and it can sometimes turn into a personal tattoo. Chu Mu usually hides this small wallet on the butt. Well, the main reason is that he was still a child when he got this wallet, and his grandfather and father were not dead yet. As a child, Chu Mu naturally cannot be placed on his arms and thighs. Over time, putting it on your buttocks has become a habit, and now Chu Mu has no intention of changing her habit. The small wallet that can be turned into a tattoo is really practical. The only drawback is the space inside. Not big. It's just the file size of a small room. It can only hold some sundries at most. It's obviously impossible to install aircraft cannons. After all, the magic in the world of Harry Potter has its limits. Chu Mu walked towards New York for a while, and walked out of the place covered by dark clouds before. The raindrops falling in the sky became smaller and smaller. When he completely walked out of the rainy area, he looked up. The moon can be seen clearly again, but Chu Mu's clothes are still wet. Cleaned up, Chu Mu took out the Elder Wand that he had drawn out a long time ago and cast the only functional spell he had on his clothes. Needless to say, these spells in the Harry Potter world are indeed very convenient. After a while, Chu Mu's clothes were completely new. Even the places that had become somewhat shabby due to a battle were restored to their original state. Chu Mu, who was originally drowned, once again restored his good image. I don't know where I lost my phone. Otherwise I would have asked Vodka to pick me up. Chu Mu's phone had been lost during the previous fight. This has resulted in the embarrassing situation where he can now only walk on 2 legs. You can't use the few remaining ancestor modes just to fly back to New York. The faith value is only 1, but it needs to be used to prevent emergencies. I have to say that the faith value thing is really useless. Fortunately, a large amount of faith points earned by the film and television company will arrive tomorrow. Before that, Chu Mu could only live with double-digit faith points. Quote. I just used the ancestor mode again. I can feel that my body has been strengthened. There will be a day when I don't need to wear the card anymore. Quote. Chu Mu is not dissatisfied with cards like his that require faith points to be used. He probably figured out what was going on. After so many attempts, Chu Mu also had new conjectures about the system. Perhaps the Homelander card originally did not need to be maintained with faith points. Yes. Chu Mu had a vague feeling that the consumption when wearing the Homelander card might not be used to maintain his Homelander status. How to describe Chu Mu's feeling? If the Homelander card is an external force, then consuming faith points when wearing it is probably allowing Chu Mu to absorb and digest this external force. Faith value. It is used for Chu Mu to digest this power. As for why when wearing a card, you need to perform an operation similar to role-playing based on the characteristics of the card. Maybe to deepen the connection with the card. This is Chu Mu's new idea recently. Definitely, no matter whether this idea is correct or not, there is one thing that is 100% certain. As the number of wears continues to increase, one day Chu Mu will completely digest and absorb the power contained in the Homelander card. By the time, it is the state of completely attributing external power to oneself. Although the process is a bit slower, but it's definitely better than the situation where you can only gain power by wearing the card. This is the same as the concept of buying a house or renting a house. Consuming faith points is constantly integrating power into the body, which is much better than consuming faith points but only having it temporarily. The speed of digesting cards of this level is not slow. Just like me now, even if I don't wear Homelander's card, I still have some of his power. Chu Mu wore the card again after just now. His eyes can really light up. The Chu State Li Dezhao people's signature ability laser eyes have been initially born on Chu Mu. Although the condition of pink eye is not as bright as Homelander, Chu Mu can still fire a ray of laser from his eyes by staring hard. Definitely, this power is still not enough. Chu Mu estimated that it could only reach the level of hot milk and hot rice. Zizizi. Chu Mu tried to penetrate a big tree on the side of the road, but it only left a black mark on the big tree on the side of the road. The power obviously deserves to be improved. I stretch my hips a little, but it's still a good start, and it's quite convenient. Chu Mu took out a piece of quick bread she bought before. Then he glared hard, and then he ate hot bread with a bit of burnt skin. It is also a kind of enjoyment to be in a deserted area. Not only the ability of laser eyes is beginning to show, Homelander's other abilities are also gradually integrated into Chu Mu's body. Just like now, Chu Mu can jump up to a height of 3 to 5 meters with a single jump. Although he can't fly yet, Chu Mu can slow down his fall with just a thought. This is probably the pre-ability of the flight skill. It can temporarily change the influence of gravity on oneself, and it is like carrying a parachute when landing. Although this degree of slowdown may seem useless, in fact, under the current circumstances, it may be more effective than a laser eye that can only heat milk. At least, it allows Chu Mu to jump out of an airplane and fall from an altitude of any number of meters without worrying about being dropped to death. It is definitely a very good ability. I have nothing to do, why do you want to jump out of the plane? Chu Mu took a bite of the heated bread and shook her head slightly in amusement. Ability is good. It's just not easy to find opportunities to practice. Isn't this quite tasteless? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.